we're gonna get a little bit crazy. Wild and maybe even vulgar, if you please. It's after dark and we're gonna light it up. We got some fun in store for you, no tease. It's time for Midnight Edge after dark. A little naughty, will hopefully make you chuckle. But we ain't trying to hurt nobody, so get ready quick on the double, cause it's time for Midnight Edge after dark.
Good evening, everybody. Whoops. Do that again. We got a Shrek 5 announcement, Gladiator 2 trailer, Godzilla -1 is coming to video, and a whole lot more. Welcome to the program, ladies and gentlemen. Boys and girls, cats and dogs, we have a panel full of distinguished gentlemen. We have with us that 70s rock fan, a.k.a. Brian. How you doing?
I'm doing great, mate. So you got a panel of distinguished gentlemen and me.
Well, either way.
But yeah, it's good to be here, mate.
You're probably the only one who's ever been trained in how to be a gentleman, considering. But
that's true. Yes, it was. I was trained. They used the stick. The stick was used a lot.
You can't have any pudding unless you eat your meat.
A rolled up newspaper was used.
That's right. And we also have with us all 32 flavors of Nick Weiser. How you doing?
Hello, sir. I just had a delicious bowl of Captain Crunch's Cinnamon Crunch. It was really good, and now I'm ready for Midnight's Edge after dark, and I can't wait to talk about Godzilla -1.
And how was it?
Oh, it's really good.
I'm not a big fan of cinnamon.
No,
It's
me
okay.
neither.
I make up for you both. I make up.
It has to be very light and yeah, like almost like a sugary taste has to almost overpower.
The more the merrier.
It's the devil's dandruff.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Give me that dandruff then.
You know what I picked up today because I hadn't had them in forever and I shouldn't have. Hopefully Mike is not listening. Chocolate Rice Krispies.
Whoa!
Oh yeah,
Cocoa Krispies.
I love it when it makes milk chocolate milk. The best.
Well, they're kind of better than Fruity Pebbles. Like I like Fruity Pebbles. Don't get me wrong, but Fruity Pebbles are like flat Cocoa Krispies. Cocoa Krispies are still crispy when you throw the milk on them. It's like a snap, crackle, pop still, and it's like they have a chocolate coating, right? So it's like, yeah. Anyway, fat kid problems. We also have with us Mr. Scribbles. How you doing?
Doing all right. Hey, everybody. How are you guys doing?
Doing the best we can.
Yeah, I'm kind of sweltering over here. This left coast is the best coast, but man, it is hot out here.
That's what I keep hearing. It's quite hot in some areas. So
Yeah.
I as a fat guy, I totally understand. I had to go get groceries today, and carrying them in, I was sweating balls. It was like 80-some degrees. It says it's 64 out right now, but I think that's a lie. But anyway, we also have with us the Price of Reason. How you doing?
I'm doing good. This has been my longest. I think this past week has been the longest week I've had where I wasn't online almost at all.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you have to get away.
Yeah, I got away, and I even saw a few movies.
What'd you see?
Well, of course, I watched that annoying Beverly Hills Cop movie.
Oh, yeah.
I also saw Possum Trot, Sound of Hope, the story.
Hey, what'd you think of that? I've heard that's actually better than Sound of Freedom.
You know what? I think that it was. If you're interested in seeing kind of like an inspiring movie, there is like emotional stuff in it. It's a subject that's like a serious subject matter, but it's nice to see a movie like that from time to time, and it's pretty well made. I didn't think it was bad at all. I thought it was good. If you're like,
good.
Yeah, I mean, if you know what you're going into, if you're looking for like a science fiction comedy, then you won't find it there. But it's sort of, based on a true story, and it is nice that people are doing something positive in the world. It's not bad.
Yeah,
to make a movie about it.
Yeah, I too watched Beverly Hills Cop. Go ahead.
I didn't see Beverly Hills Cop. Sadly, haven't seen Son of Hope yet, but I did catch Despicable Me 4.
What'd you think of that?
I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun, and it had a really great family arc that was involved too with Gru, and it was just constant laughing for the duration of the hour and a half. And there's a great character in there. One of my favorites that was a nice homage to Mr. Ben Grimm, The Thing. And of course, it made me think of our buddy, Mr. Clawby. Yeah, I had a very fun time. Family enjoyed it as well.
Awesome. Yeah. Not only did I see Beverly Hills Cop, which I think I've talked enough about already a little bit. I do plan on doing some sort of roundtable at some point, hopefully here soon, if there's even any interest in it. But I did watch Garfield last night.
Ooh, how was
that?
Actually, it was a lot better than I thought it would be. Now, I have issues with certain canon things that they completely, like, I mean, I know the history of Garfield as far as, like, his mom and all that stuff, and, like, to switch that up a little bit kind of bothered me. I wasn't too happy at first with the kind of deadbeat dad storyline, but I kind of predicted where it was. It's predictable, but it's fun for kids. It's very cartoony. There's a lot of very cartoony moments and elements in it, which I didn't mind. It has some pretty funny gags. There's some great Easter eggs for older folks. Chris Pratt is probably the worst part of the movie. Like him he makes Garfield too emotional.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's the problem. He gets too either happy, sad, glad, fiery, mad, like than Garfield should. That's my only real complaint.
He's not Garfield.
Right.
Yeah,
but Odie was great. Odie was great in it, of course. And I didn't mind, I didn't even mind Vic, the new character, Garfield's dad. I thought he was okay. Like I said, kind of predictable.
Wasn't his mom in a restaurant, in an Italian restaurant?
Yeah, see, they switched that out. See, the original story, you're right. He and his brothers and sisters were born outside of an Italian restaurant.
Right.
And he wandered in, and that's how he got his love for lasagna.
Right.
And in this version, he was with his dad instead, and it's just him and his dad, so he doesn't have any brothers and sisters, at least that we know of in this version. We don't even establish who his mom is if she exists in this world.
I like the mom storyline better than what you're describing.
Kind of, but it kind of builds into the plot, and there's elements that, like, overall, I would say this might be a better Garfield film than the Bill Murray one, just because of actually having a plot. But, like, it's very cartoony, right? Like, you guys, like, there's a lot of tongue-in-cheek humor. Like,
but Bill Murray probably voiced him better.
Oh, yes. I wish they almost would have got him back. But, like, I mean, they at least even address, like, the whole idea. Because you know how it's always kind of been this weird thing in the Garfield world where sometimes it seems like John can hear Garfield, but then other times he can't.
Right.
Like, in this version, they clearly make it that, you know, like, you know, when the cats are talking to people, it's meow, 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 meow. But they actually have an app in this movie where they can understand animals, which is, like I said, there's some cartoon elements in it, but, like, it works with the plot because it's just Garfield. You know what I mean? Like, it takes place in its own little weird world. So I can accept it as a kid's movie premise for, you know, a 4 hour and 40-minute movie. I think parents will enjoy it just as much as kids will. I mean, Garfield fans, like I said, like myself, will probably have some issues with some of the canon breaking elements to it or how they're reimagining the canon. But, like, I don't know, I thought it was all right. Because, like, even Odie's backstory's changed, right? Because in the comics, if you know, he's actually Lyman's dog, and he gets left there when Lyman just up and disappears, which they actually addressed in one of the later comics. But in this version, like Garfield says, like I let John get a dog, even, you know, like so. Yeah, it's like it's kind of.
I let John get a dog. That's hilarious.
Is there anything else that stays from the original though? Here, does he still like lasagna? Does
all that's
Mondays,
there. I mean, Mondays is still all that stuff's the same. The only thing they changed. Yeah, the only thing they changed is just, like I said, the canon as far as where he came from and how John got him and where Odie come from. Other than that, like, that's all kind of pre-set up, and that's part of the story as you move along. Because, like, you think his dad left him, right? Like, that's kind of the whole big thing with why he has this thing with his dad, that he resents him. But then you can kind of predict what happened, like he didn't leave him on purpose kind of thing, and you can kind of deduce what happened. So, like, all that kind of comes to a head eventually. But, like, the surprising elements were, like, Ving Rhames doing the voice of this one cow, or this bull. It was fucking, he's one of the better characters, and the whole plot is kind of, like, set up to where the basic is Vic, Garfield's dad, ended up screwing up a milk heist, and one of the people went to the pound, and she was in the pound for 5 years. So the villain, her whole thing is she wants a quart of milk for every day she was in the pound. So they have to pull off this super Mission Impossible heist to get milk to save Vic. Right. So it's like, yeah, that's the plot. And like I said, it works for the movie.
Cartoon. Yeah.
It's a cartoon movie. Like, don't go into it expecting like,
sure, that's fine.
Yeah, for kids, it works. It works on a level where if you got a 3-4-year-old, they'll be able to follow this just fine. It's colorful, it's funny, it's goofy. It's not overly obnoxious. That's one of the things that I really liked about it, unlike, the more recent TMNT movie and such, where they're just annoying as piss and obnoxious and in your face constantly with shit, bombarding you with like trying to be funny and shit. Like, this movie actually thinks through some of the jokes and the punchlines and some of the setups and payoffs. So like, in that respect, I got to give it credit. I mean, it's not like a 10 out of 10. It's more like a 7 out of 10. But as far as kids movies go, when we haven't had very many good kids movies in the last 5 years or so, hey, I mean, has your kids seen it yet, Nick? Have you guys seen it?
Not yet. We were going to see it, but then we were like, no, let's go see. That's when we decided Despicable Me. But we're definitely, Garfield is next.
Yeah. My only thing is they should have just signed Stephen Wright up to do Garfield's voice.
Oh, man.
So do you think it would have made a difference with his voice? Like, do you think it would have gone up like, what, 7.5 with his voice?
Oh, at least. Because, like, if you remember, we played that trailer where somebody AI'd Lorenzo Music's original voice over the trailer, and it worked. Like, everything worked.
True, yeah.
So, like,
I remember.
And that's what I think, like, that was the problem with here, is you needed somebody who's more deadpan. Because a lot of the jokes are set up that way. Because that's the way Garfield is.
Maybe the reason they chose Chris Pratt beyond his marketability is that, kids today, maybe they want to hear some kind of too emotional guy, being emotional and stuff. Maybe that's the kind of thing that people like today. The kind of cynical, more reserved thing. Kids are kind of, they grow up differently now.
I'm sure it was more for the marquee part of it. You're in that respect.
Maybe you're right.
Parents are the only ones who give a shit. Kids don't normally know who Chris Pratt is. I mean, they might recognize that he sounds like Mario or Star-Lord. That'd be about it, probably.
You're probably right.
And the thing is when he does like the grovelly, grumpy Garfield voice, it sounds weird.
I never understood why they cast him. I mean, I understand market-wise, but I really don't think he was right for it. He's not right for every single voice. Even Mario was a stretch, if you really think about it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that was another one I wasn't on board with him on. And I like Chris Pratt a lot.
Yeah, I like him too. I don't dislike Chris Pratt, but it doesn't mean that every single thing in the world he has to do the voice for.
He's not also a great voice actor either.
Right, it's not like he's Robin Williams. Robin Williams was like, he could do any voice, and you're like, wow, he can imitate, he could do things. But Chris Pratt isn't that type of guy.
I know, I would never would have picked him as a go-to voice actor.
No, never.
No, and can you imagine if Stephen Wright had done this, he'd be like, let me tell you about when I adopted John.
Yeah. See, I think even young kids could probably get the contrast in humor with the deadpan and everything else. Yeah. Because I mean, I did when I was a kid in the cartoon show, and so so just putting Chris Pratt in there to be way too he was way too sugar high to be that character. It has to be. You have to have the contrast between the goofiness and Garfield being sort of like this weird stoic thing. And then, of course, when things get really crazy and his eyes go wide and then he freaks out, it really ups the ante a bit. Because if he's energetic all the time, it kind of dilutes the whole deal.
But even then, the most you ever get out of him is like an arg. Otherwise, he don't normally raise his voice.
No.
Right? Like, it's never like overly one way or the other. I mean, even when he says like, nice touch, it's still really subdued. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
And I'm trying to remember if that's one of his normal things they said or not in this movie. I think they did at least once. I mean, yeah, he's still freaked out about spiders, still hates Mondays. That's another thing is throughout the whole movie, he's like, is this a Monday? Because it sure feels like a Monday. And Nick's like, no, it's a Thursday. But anyway, let's see what you guys are talking about. We got Goddess of Women in the house. How you doing? Sends in $5 and is wrenching. Thank you for that. This has got 2 new Blu-rays, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire and Boy in the Heron. Can't wait to watch The Boy in the Heron again. Yeah, I've heard good things about that.
I saw The Boy in the Heron in the theater.
Yeah, I think you said, did you like that one?
I did like it. The only thing I'll say is it's really trippy and weird.
Mhm.
But if you understand you're going into something that you kind of throw logic out the window and you're watching a bunch of weird things, and you kind of go with the flow, then there's something to enjoy there. But if you're expecting kind of an organized narrative that fully makes sense, that movie may not be for you.
Jason Webster sends in an Australian 10 and says, what is the criteria selecting directors at Disney? Well, apart from Iger and Kennedy butt kissing being too woke to function, what is the criteria? Barely capable of walking on two legs and breathing? Well, lately, Jason, what their thing was for a while, their gimmick was get somebody who just won an Oscar for something that doesn't scream sci-fi or superheroes, right? Like that seems to be their MO, like Chloe Zhao, shit like that. Now we're hearing over at Marvel, they're supposed to be swinging back the other direction and possibly looking at more seasoned directors, but we'll see.
Well, also getting somebody that didn't have any. Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Nick. Sorry.
Okay, so here's, and I heard that too, Tom. I know we talked a little bit about yesterday on Comics' channel. I don't believe them, and here's why I don't believe them. I think they're gonna do like what Marvel has done, but with the books. And how did Marvel respond when they dialed down on the all new, all different? When they replaced all these legacy characters with these recent versions, they just added them to their they brought the original versions back, and they just added the less light version to the books, or they added them in backup stories, and then they bump up the prices. I think they're just going to add these unlikable characters to the safer movies. So when you see like a sequel to like Thor, maybe they won't put out Jane Foster in it, but they're going to definitely include like Valkyrie with her. Like they're going to do stuff like that rather than just think, okay, we can't work on these characters. When they say, oh, we're just going to focus on the bigger, more safer names, they ain't going to just focus on them exclusively. They're going to make all of them team up movies, which is kind of like what we saw in these CW shows in the 2010s with DC. They were kind of the dress rehearsal for what would become commonplace now in a lot of these shows and movies, where everything now is a team up. No character has their own adventures anymore because you have to include everyone. We're gonna get that with the MCU. And even if Deadpool and Wolverine is good, it's nothing more than a short-term win to also buy them time to have a little extra money to try to fund their other projects that they actually want to make. I'll stop now.
I think a great point, Nick. I think to answer Jason's question, and Tom, I think, has said it many times, Disney criteria is they cast directors now. They cast the director.
Yes, they're a hired gun.
Yeah, they cast them for their characteristics and their attitudes and views, not because of any past track record or ideas going forward. So they cast them.
Yeah, there's a DEI consideration for the show, but the other thing that's the common pattern is they hire people who have no leverage or cachet in Hollywood to be able to fight back against the producers or try to have their way. So you get these small film directors who might have had a few awards or whatever. There's a little buzz about them, at least on the independent circuit, maybe. And then you give them this gigantic budget. They feel like they're on top of the world. And of course, an opportunity like this isn't going to come along every day. And so they want to keep everybody happy. So they'll capitulate to the producers in the studio over actually doing something of their own vision.
Let's get to an even simpler direction with it, Scribe. When you get those lesser known names, sure, they may have some awards from some indie flick. No, hey, that's great for them. However, ultimately, people like that are also cheaper to work with. That's one of the simpler things of this. They are cheaper, and they just get to flaunt the DEI quotas a lot. But really, is that they're cheaper, and because people like that are used to working on such small budget movies, now once, as you said, along comes a big opportunity, they're going to say yes just because it will hopefully do good things for their resume, which I do understand to a point. However, look at how it's backfired at people like Chloe Zhao.
It's ironic. Really it's ironic if they're cheaper because the amount of money they're spending. It's ironic they're trying to save money on directors.
Yeah.
I mean, if you get what you pay for.
Chloe Zhao was shell-shocked.
No, you guys have made all the right points as far as I'm concerned. I mean, yeah, those are all the answers right there. Easy to manipulate. Somebody who has a name, comes with a pedigree of woke, usually. They're strong female, whatever. Even worse than Chloe Zhao. Look what happened to the chick who directed the Marvels.
Yep. Well,
like, if anything, her career has been completely derailed. Because look at that. Now, not only has she, like, one of the first, or if not the first black female director in Marvel to direct a superhero movie as well, not just Marvel, she also has the biggest flop as far as superhero movies go, too.
Right.
So look at that. That's what she has for her resume now. And that's what these guys do. They see that as a possibility to boost their resume. That's why they say yes to these things and they capitulate, like you guys were saying. But anyway, Scribe, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I mean, Nia DaCosta's got her own problem. She did that Candyman sequel or remake or whatever else. And
she did get other
apparently,
chances. You are correct.
Apparently, she's doing I didn't even just see this till now because I was curious as to what she was working on. 28 years later, to The Bone Temple. I don't even know what that is.
Oh, that's them trying to. Must be why What's His Face is coming out with 28 months later, whatever it is. Years later, yeah, whatever.
Remind me, how did Nia DaCosta become like a name? What did she do?
I don't remember what she did initially.
She did some short films that got a lot of attention because they were, kind of race-based or something. And then she got Candyman back in 2021.
Which was crap.
And then right after that was the Marvels, so yeah.
Crap also. So she's basically only done crap.
Yeah, little tiny. I mean, like her first really big film was Little Woods, and that had Tessa Thompson in it.
Okay, yeah.
There's and Lance Reddick, so it had like these sort of well-known black actors and Tessa Thompson connection to Marvel and everything else. So that's probably her in.
And that's just it. If she had been in any other time period, her career would be done now. Like even after, I don't think she would have got another chance after Candyman.
Yeah, feeling upwards is just the common theme in Hollywood these days.
But yeah, if they're doing it. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say. Oh, remember Heaven's Gate and Cimino? Like he makes this movie that's an absolute bomb with an absolute huge budget, and you nary has heard an encouraging word about him again. But he would be nothing compared to a Marvel movie these days.
I just keep thinking also about Beau DeMayo, which I feel always like they wanted him. He fit into the category that they even met with him and said, "Oh, well, you're both black and gay, so we want you to make this show." And then he actually made something and started doing things that he thought were cool. And he didn't actually
end up being a fan on top of it, Price. He actually was pouring out his heart on social media.
Right.
Up on about. They probably did not like that.
That's probably why they got rid of him. They basically, he didn't fall into line of what was expected of him, which also shows that they choose all these people. And then even if accidentally they chose one that actually liked the property and knew what he was doing, well, that guy gets pushed aside immediately.
Yeah, they don't want somebody for who they are. They want somebody for what they are. And if you start expressing who you are out in public, that goes against the grain or rubs the wrong, somebody the wrong way, then, now you're a pariah.
And I know they claim that he had a naughty photo or something, but he probably had those photos before. I think that they just wanted to get rid of him because he didn't bow down to Feige.
I guarantee you many of their writers or producers or their actors or anyone who works in the board, corporate, whatever, I bet you if we had to dig through all skeletons or closets, what he did was tame compared to what everyone else does.
You're probably right. And I am ashamed to admit that I didn't see this coming. Like initially when I saw the interviews with him, I just thought it was another one of their regular hires. I was also surprised that he actually cared about the property. I didn't expect it, I guess.
I didn't either. But it shows when you watch it, regardless of how you feel on the show. It's clear, like there was like not only moments taken from the books. Obviously, some were more compressed versions, but there's even some of the dialogue was even using some of the stuff, and there's even nods to a lot of the creators from the books. And I'm not even talking about just in the after credits, but like when you walk by like a sign on the street or a coffee shop, they pay respects to those creators. And once again, I think it's not a spoiler mode, but me and Klobby, we're the Cyclops guys, Klobby and I. That's our boy right there. we were shocked that that was the character who was given so much respect, because he is everything, let's just say, a current demographic hates about, well, good characters. A man who's strong, who's a leader, and of course he's white, and he was awesome. And in my strong opinion, one of the best things of that show. I couldn't believe how much justice they did to him. Like I almost didn't believe it.
So, in some sort of like watered down way, was Bo DeMeo Gina Carano'd?
I don't know. And the
is that a good comparison? Know. I mean, I realize not to the same extent or as dramatic, but
I get why you're asking it. Here's why I say I don't know. It's because we don't know. We still don't know why he got fired. That's my issue. And because he got fired, is he blacklisted the same way she is? That's the thing. We don't know. Like, okay, even if we will probably
they didn't blacklist him in the press like they did her.
No, they didn't blacklist him.
Yeah.
But they did roll out those photos and make a big deal out of them.
But I think you're right that they knew about him already, and not only that, it was just a matter of he wouldn't capitulate to whatever it was they wanted. And regardless, I mean, sooner or later we were bound to get one of these wokes who would make something worth a shit.
Right.
Like, finally, I mean, it was just by pure, like, statistically, exactly. Thank you. Because, like, at some point, one of them was going to make something that was worth a shit. Right. Like, I guess you could consider Barbie another one of those, which is sad because it's really just the third act that makes Barbie that. But yeah. But anyway. That being said, hopefully you got your $10 worth there, Jason.
Yeah, I was about to say, Jason got your money worth there.
Yeah. Batman's in the house. I guess I should read this as Batman. Have you heard anything about the third animated Spider-Man movie? Why you care about Spider-Man, you Batman? I last heard the voice actors haven't been called to do the movie yet. What's going on? This is true. Last I heard. I don't know if they have since. I think the success of part 2 kind of took them by surprise, but I'm more surprised that they haven't bum rushed 3 through production. Because the voices would be one of the first things you do.
Okay, I don't remember the exact timeline of when that movie came out. I know it was last summer, but if I recall correctly, I thought they announced that the movie was on hold like either like a week before the movie came out, a week after.
Not that I recall. They'd always kind of, as far as I know, this has always been set up to be a 2-parter.
Yeah, no, that was always obvious. But what I'm saying is,
what didn't make sense to me is that they didn't make both of them at the same time.
Yeah,
that was the thing that didn't make sense to me.
I meant to say for the third movie to be put on hold. Yes, they always announced it as 2 sequels. They did always announce it. I remember the initial announcment.
But I think this literally leaves on a cliffhanger. Was my point?
Yes, it does. From what I've been told, it leaves on apparently some people were not wild about the cliffhanger. Even people who really liked it were like, "What?" Apparently,
maybe I was gonna say maybe the surprise success of the second one bought them some leverage to ask for more time to ramp up.
I think they need to make the third one quickly, because even though it succeeded, and this is just my personal opinion, I can barely even remember. Those movies for me are forgettable. The first one was some dumb novelty. The second one was like, all right. I mean, they're all right movies. I didn't suffer watching them, but I've never thought about them again.
It's the
Avatar. I hated the first one.
They make money, but they're not something
I
that
didn't watch the
come back to and talk to over and over again.
Well, the first one didn't make a shit ton of money. The second one did.
No one expected.
Well, that's why I think whoever just said that they're back trying to negotiate. I think you're right. I think that they had their initial deal, and then the second movie did better than they anticipated. And what's their faces? The 2 guys,
Lord and Miller.
I think they're renegotiating this whole thing.
Yeah,
I think they met a stalemate.
That's my suspicion.
Because otherwise, why would you not be bum rushing this?
Right. Like, they're getting more money. They want more money for themselves.
Somebody wants more money
ramp-up
somewhere.
time.
Yeah,
I understand, because they're kind of overrated. So this is the one time they're going to make a big payday. And if I were them, I would also fight for it, because they're kind of measly.
Maybe they're trying to use it as a way to get 23 Jump Street made. Maybe that's why Jai Courtney's out talking about it.
or they through their production company, they have other stuff like that Cocaine Bear. Like they have their own movies that they do. So maybe as part of the deal, they get funding for a few other crappy movies, and then they make this crappy movie.
I wonder how gun shy those two guys are. Oh, sorry.
I'll just say, more or less, it feels like somebody's holding out. But go ahead.
Well, I was just curious. I was just wondering. It's like, after their experience with Disney and Solo, I wonder how gun shy they are about working with studios and making promises and things. And so, if an opportunity like this comes along, maybe they just want to make sure they've got their footing or some promises for additional films.
Well, I think they got a deal with Sony, so like that part, as far as I know, I think is fine. But
right,
it might not even be them. It could even be something Disney's doing. We don't know. See,
or Sony, because Sony owns still the license.
They have the license, but they don't have the toy part of it. See, that's the thing. As far as I know, Disney gets all the toy part.
Merchandising.
So there could be somebody negotiating, trying to get something on the other end. That could very well be, because I know that was one of the stories I think Valiant and some of the other guys covered, was how much money that Disney made off of the Spider-Verse merchandising.
You know what it could be? And I just had a thought, it'll be one of the stories we'll talk about. It might be its distribution, because if like Amazon's doing Spider Noir, and Spider Noir is tied to the Spider-Verse cartoon or the animated shows for anybody that's,
out or not
younger than us. Yeah.
So for those who don't know, it was it's been kind of rumored and talked about and semi-announced, but now we know a little bit more about it. Nick Cage himself come out and talked a little bit about Spider-Man Noir. And this is going to be a live action show.
Which is weird.
And that's only weird if you're just kind of think about it on the surface, but there's a reason for that, and that has to do with the license. Because my understanding is Sony only has the license for live action Spider-Man stuff outside of movies. So since this is going to be a series, they can't do an actual series. You guys remember they were going to do a Spider-Gwen spin-off series a while back, and that never came to fruition?
That. You're right. Yep.
From what I had heard in the background was that Disney was the one who came in and cock-blocked that. Because Sony can only do live action stuff. As far as my understanding, there's a little bit more specifics involved. It's a bit of a weird needle thread as far as like how the rights go through everything. But basically, Marvel still technically owns the character, owns the merchandising rights, owns the television rights, but not live action television rights. So it's kind of, so all the cartoons that we've seen over the past 20 years that have been Spider-Man cartoons, those have all been produced by Disney. Marvel before
they make it look like Sin City, like actual black and white and everything else, that might actually look pretty cool depending on who's producing it. But I don't know how they're going to do it live action.
In that respect, it sounds like that's what they're doing, is basically a live action version of the character from the Spider-Verse.
Right.
Nicolas Cage sounds very excited about it.
Just how excited does he sound, Tom?
Yeah, I was going to say, you got
I don't like playing characters who just hurt people. So I like this because it's like monsters. I'm going to punch a monster in the face.
There should be a cameo by a 40s Ghost Rider, and he does the voice for that too.
Yeah, Ghost Rider.
Oh wait, wrong franchise.
Oh, what the hell?
Wait, this is the 1940s.
Now, here's a question: why is it coming out on Amazon and not Disney Plus?
That'd be a Sony deal. That's why.
Sony deal.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. That's why it's live action. That makes sense to me. Because at first Nick Cage wasn't going to be involved, and I think it was supposed to be a cartoon, and then it switched to live action. And then they got Nick Cage involved later in the game.
And recently, Nick Cage also said that he'd be open to doing a series if he thought it was something cool. So this sort of goes hand in hand.
Oh, this is a movie? I thought it was a series, but yeah, okay. So if it's a movie, that makes even more sense.
Is it a movie?
It was a series.
I thought it was like an 8-episode series.
It's a series.
No, he was hinting at a series before it was confirmed it was a series.
Yeah, I think it's an 8-episode series from my understanding.
I mean, I'd watch it if, I'd give it a chance at least.
But it's set in the past, isn't it?
Well, it's an alternate. It's an alternate universe where it's like a 1930s, 40s thing.
Yeah,
the only question I have,
he's not even Peter Parker, is he?
No.
In the books, it was Peter Parker. In the books,
he was a different
Peter
variant.
Parker in the Depression era, and he went by the name the Spider. But the book, when the comics were coming out, they were called Spider-Man Noir because Marvel was doing a line of comics called Marvel Noir, where they're doing noir takes on their characters, like on a handful of them. And Spider-Man Noir was the most successful one. But in the book, they refer to him as the Spider. It's pretty good, actually.
This sounds interesting. This sounds.
It actually was.
Yeah.
As much as I'm beyond burnt out from multiverses, the Noir universe was one of the very few, and I mean single digits few, that I actually appreciated.
Yeah, the only question I have is that the character is portrayed in the animated films is very hammy, whereas the Noir universe is, at least most of the time, it's very hard-boiled and sort of old-fashioned, kind of gritty. It had humor, but it wasn't like as comical, sort of like referential as the character they put in the Spider-Verse movie. So I'm wondering what direction they're going to go with the tone. Since it's
I'm sure it's
Nicolas
going to be
Cage.
very noir.
Well,
very-
proper noir would be good. Like
That's what I
proper
say.
noir
Pastiche.
would be nice.
Not a
because,
pastiche of
like,
noir.
I remember Aunt May did like community work around the city, and the Green Goblins was
Is that what they called it in those
Goblin.
days?
Hey, you got the Goblin. Oh yeah, no, it's
It'd be amazing if we got Christopher Walken as a goblin.
Oh god.
Oh man, that'd be great.
William
I'm
Dafoe.
Green
No, we should cast
Goblin.
William Dafoe in it. You know, I'm a little bit
We already
noir
have him.
myself. I'm a little bit noir myself.
I'm the Green Goblin. I'm black and white. You can't tell that I'm green.
I'm something of a noir myself.
So it's in the name. Anyway, yeah, no. Or better yet, be John Travolta as a Green Goblin.
Oh god, they could do it as a face off.
Oh my god,
Wow.
I'm the Green Goblin. I'm gonna take your face off, Spider-Man.
But yeah, it might have some potential though. It might.
Yeah, it could be fun. Could be fun. So yeah, there was that announcement today. On the MCU note, though, Nikki D sends in 5 and says, "Do you think the MCU will reboot after Deadpool 3, or will they continue with Kang Saga?" I don't think the Kang Saga is going to continue, but they're clearly staying. Because I mean, this kind of leads us into the Agatha thing. If you guys wanted to discuss that, we got to talk about it on the morning show. But
I was just going to say, do you think the MCU really have any idea of what they're actually going to be doing?
yeah.
No.
Deadpool is an island in a sea of piss. I've been saying it for a while now.
I saw the Agatha trailer the other day, and my first thought was, "Wow, Hocus Pocus 3 looks like garbage."
Right?
Yeah,
It really did. My first thought was, this looks like it's a Hocus Pocus sequel or something, just the way they have it set up with their
Kind of
totally diverse witch coven and everything. I was like, oh, for crying out loud, guys. What are we doing?
And then we got Gay Billy in it.
Yeah, well, of course. Yep.
Boy.
How many times do you think they reshot that show? Because it was in production hell for the longest time. All the name changes and everything else.
Well, the name changes, I think, was actually legitimately part of the advertising marketing campaign, but they just didn't get the meme to begin with. And that's the only reason this show exists, is over that fucking meme.
It's funny. I thought the name they would end up with is Agatha Who Cares?
Please watch.
I don't even know if I made it to the end of that trailer. I started watching it, and I can't remember. I feel like I stopped watching in the middle, and I don't know why.
I think I know why.
Right. I think
even
I know
even
why
the trailer
too.
couldn't keep your attention.
The trailer couldn't keep my attention. That's it. I remember that she's next to, it's like the FBI is looking for a body in the woods, and then she's talking to the girl
From the
Broad.
looks of it, it looks like they're going to be investigating the death of the alternate Earth Wanda. One that the other Wanda killed.
Or it's all happening in her head and she's trapped in a spell or something, and it's all a mind game.
And again, it's another story to make the bad guy give them a reason to be good, because clearly she's under some sort of spell. Whether it was under Wanda's spell or Mephisto's spell or whatever, but yeah. Anyway.
And then you had Aubrey Plaza talking to her, and then I think that's where they lost me. I think that was
when I
the
saw
end.
Aubrey Plaza, I thought, is this a crossover with Legion or something? Because my first thought was, because I mean, Legion was probably one of the better Marvel shows, TV shows ever really made. But I saw Aubrey Plaza, like, okay, so I know she's probably not playing the same character, but is this all in her head, and is this some kind of X-Men crossover?
Aubrey Plaza is still my favorite shopping mall.
Next to Glendale. As far as Deadpool 3, I think the only thing it's going to reboot or do anything ending wise is going to end the Fox-Men universe, and that's it.
Yeah. I think
it's going to merge it with the MCU, one of the two.
They're going to reboot it after Secret Wars, is what they're going to do. They're going to definitely reboot it after Secret Wars, and that's where they're going to really go all in, even more so on all new, all different. They might even give it the brand name advertised at that point. And some people, especially on our side, are like, hold on, we already got that with everything. They're like, nope, not compared to what we're about to get. Once again, Deadpool and Wolverine is a one-off to try to fund other things if they can succeed at that. That said, I do hope that it's good.
We have from multiple people now, including, I think, both Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds themselves, who said that Kevin Feige didn't want Deadpool 3.
Right.
I believe that, actually. I believe it
too.
This was...
And not only that, he thought it was dumb to have Wolverine in it, or he didn't think it was a good idea. And you know why that is? It has all... Because the motherfucker can't even see the dollar signs when they're right in front of him. He's just sitting here going, there's not enough women in this equation.
That's not important to him.
Too much testosterone.
Yep.
Oh, for the days that Hollywood just wanted to make money.
Yeah.
Now they don't want to make money.
But they still want everyone to see their crap.
I long for the days when they literally spent years trying to put together a Freddy versus Jason movie.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, money is a sacrificial
reason than money. No,
money is a worthy sacrifice for the sake of the message. Now it doesn't matter if they make money, as long as they make something that pushes forward what their overlords and ideology wants them to say. Because it's somebody else's money, it's not like they're losing. It's not like their jobs are on the line, because they always end up keeping their jobs or getting promoted elsewhere. So there's no downside.
You know what I like more than my money? Other people's money. You ever see that movie? It's a good movie. Danny DeVito.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good one.
Other people's money.
You want a donut? Not hungry. Don't taste as good when you're hungry. He's right, too. Captain Phantom Nerd sends in a member chat for 32 months. Thank you for that, Captain Phantom Nerd. We're going to have a member stream on Thursday, by the way, guys. SFX F314 Sabretooth Raptors in the house sends in 5 buccarinos and says, if you had control of IPs and where showrunners with complete control of it, what would you do? I know Tom's is TMNT and has my vote. Well, thank you. What about you guys? Let's go around. Scribe?
Oh, Punisher. I would have complete control of the Punisher, and I'd hand it to people who knew what they were doing. And there's a couple of choice stories I'd make sure were done right in live action. But that'd be my first choice. Maybe after that, hand the Shadow to Razor Fist.
Nice.
Price?
Well, I have a weekly show about Quantum Leap, and I feel like if somebody gave me that show instead of the people that did the sequel series, mine would have been fantastic. But what can I do?
The beauty is nobody saw that, Price.
Right, nobody saw it, but there was such potential to make a good sequel series. Thankfully, the one good thing that happened with Quantum Leap is that Scott Bakula saw the script and just said, I don't want any part of this, which is great. That's actually the only time. That's how it really failed, because they couldn't get the guy back to make him look like an idiot. And I wish more actors were like that.
Yeah, indeed. And speaking of, I was just going to say, I remember Script Doctor sending me one of the scripts for Quantum Leap, and it had Sam in it.
Yeah, the original pilot. Well, it had someone playing the role of Sam. Sam had been leapt into a woman's body in that episode.
Yeah.
Oh, cheap.
That's one of the reasons. Like, one of the rumors is that Scott Bakula read it, and he's like, "Well, I'm not really in this." He's like, "Yeah, but your character is." And he's like, "Well, then you don't really need me." And that pilot ended up being shot, then reshot, and then repositioned as like the 8th or 9th episode of the series because it was received so poorly. But they already committed to making it, so it was really dumb. And here I am with my buddy who's a bigger Quantum Leap fan than I, who wrote probably one of the best Quantum Leap episodes for a sequel series you'd ever see.
No one will ever see it.
No, I'm trying to convince him to leak it, but he won't.
Well,
but yeah. Sorry I'm late, guys. My girlfriend made a lasagna, and I had to eat 3/4 of it because we didn't have room for leftovers.
You're Garfield.
Yeah, we were just talking about Garfield before you got here.
I am really like, my stomach is aching right now. I ate too much.
There's no such thing, man. That's just called part of that. That's called the price of doing business with lasagna.
Oh, I'm gonna have a stretch mark.
It's part of the game, brother. It's part of the game. There's no such thing as too much lasagna. If there's any left, that means you didn't eat enough.
Oh, there's none left.
Then you did it right. Then you're fine. You just be happy because you made an Italian happy somewhere.
Yeah, about a third of my family is Italian, so yes, they are definitely
happy. No, I love lasagna. It's like bougie pizza.
I'm proud to say I make one of the best lasagnas in existence in history.
I don't believe that. You're Scottish Canadian.
I've been perfecting it for 40 years. Now. I've won lasagna cook-offs. I'm really good at it.
Is the secret ingredient human meat?
I guess. No, just kidding. Actually, you know what the secret ingredient is? Bacon.
Mm-hmm.
All right, 70, get in my kitchen now.
You know, I've never had it with bacon. That's an interesting one.
I don't think I've had it with bacon either.
No. I've had it with bacon. I've had people deep fry it, especially the Scottish side of my family deep fried it. That was really good.
What is it with the Scottish and deep frying everything?
They make sure it's sanitized. So
what's wrong with that is the question.
Because I got a heart, and it's going to have an attack before too long.
Have
if
you
I
not had the greatness of a deep fried banana?
It's a Mars bar. A deep fried
banana is good. That's good.
I already am early onset. I don't need to have full on diabetes. Jesus Christ. Anyway, we were in the middle of this question here. Where did we leave off? I think Nick was where we left off.
Yeah. For me, Spider-Man or Daredevil. I have a lot of ideas I could do with villains like Mr. Fear. And for a Spider-Man, I would do something really awesome with Scorpion as a main villain. And then I could do something with for like a small villain angle for like an opening scene type of thing with Fancy Dan. So I would definitely have fun with that. So Spider-Man or Daredevil.
All right, Brian.
I always struggle with these questions. I know 2 hours from now I'll sit up straight and scream out, "God damn it! I know what I should have said." I guess if it was we're talking television franchises, television IP,
or whatever.
Well, it just said an IP, so we're just.
If it was to rescue, I mean, obviously, if I had my way, I would rescue the hell that is Doctor Who and rewind the clock several years and restart it proper or continue it properly
with the 8th Doctor, right? Because we never got him proper.
Exactly.
He was a good actor.
Yes, so that would be a reclamation project. If I was to revive an IP and have it under my control, it'd be Firefly.
That's a good answer.
More Firefly. Yeah.
Script.
Oh, geez, where do I start?
Yeah.
If I honestly
revive
thought
an IP, I'd probably look for something that I would actually want to do Space 1999 or UFO.
Wow.
Doesn't necessarily have to be a revival, but like I was gonna say, I could see you doing a really good Batman series.
Should have thought of that one.
Oh, dude, I'd kill Batman, Superman, The Flash, Wonder Woman, all those shows I could do. I could make people forget who Greg Berlanti was within one episode of the stuff that I would do with those characters. And I know how to do it on a budget too. So yeah,
somebody call James Gunn.
Good one.
Oh, dude, if I can get the next couple of gigs working out well, I'll be in LA pretty soon. I'll be able to bug him when he comes back from Cleveland.
Well, thanks, Tim Hayes, for also being a member for 32 months. And with that, we're going to get into our trailers. Well, there was an announcement. We got a Shrek 5 announcement. I mean, this wasn't brand new news. We kind of knew this was coming because Eddie Murphy actually spilled the beans on a Donkey movie and a Shrek 5. But we actually have a date, July 1st, 2026.
Canada.
There you go. And it actually, a lot of people are excited about it. I'm not surprised though.
Yeah, I'm not
excited.
I don't know if I've seen the fourth one. I loved one. I loved
the fourth one's better than 3.
And I saw 3, thought it was okay, and I never saw. I don't know if I've seen 4. I guess.
Which one was the one with Justin Timberlake?
3. That's the one I don't like.
What happens in 4?
4 is where I think he makes a wish and it's like everything goes back to where before everybody met each other. Yeah.
Unfortunately, I've seen 4 too. I really feel like it peaked at 2.
Yeah.
I don't think there was anything good that happened after the second one.
I mean, it's been long enough now that maybe there's a chance this one could be decent. But
it's funny because they claimed that they envisaged it as 5 movies to start with.
Bullshit.
Yeah, I know.
Shrek 2 had one of the fondest.
I believe maybe 2. Yeah, I was gonna say Shrek 2, I believe, but I don't know about 1.
Shrek
There's humor in one that would not be allowed to be put out in the public air today. I mean, let's be. I mean, so I'm really curious. Like, I mean, I'm not a big fan of the series or anything, but just that I remember the first and second one or thereabouts from way back when. I'm just thinking, boy, there are a lot of characters and jokes and situations in there that would be verboten. So how is that going to work, or how tame is it going to be? Of course, it's for kids, really, but it's also really for adults. So we'll see.
Well, it made money.
Puss in Boots, because that was actually really good.
I was going to say, and that's part of the reason I'm sure this is happening.
It was really good.
Yeah, and they made good money. They've all made
highly
good money.
recommend watching it if you haven't watched it. Seriously, the last Puss in Boots is really good. Like, straight up, go watch it.
Last time I had piss in my boots, it was a bad night.
That was
speaking of.
That was an anomaly, though. I feel like Shrek 5 is going to be a disappointment. That's just me.
It might be,
Love to
but
see.
don't make Puss in Boots: The Last Wish any less good because of it.
No, that's a good movie.
But speaking of piss in boots, go ahead, Brian.
No, just because it's interesting though, the screenplay is by Austin Powers, screenplay guy. I can't remember his name. McCullers. So obviously,
maybe
they were funny, so maybe it'll be okay. Yeah,
it's a man, baby.
It's a man, baby.
He's a man.
Speaking of piss in boots,
man, I saw this trailer and my first thought was, "This is." I called it the Staniator because it's like I'm Maximus's biggest fan and I'm going to take his place. And
it's almost like one step away from a UHF trailer.
Yeah.
And also the hip hop music, I really felt
like
that's what I'm saying.
Like, that's what I mean. It's like only one small step away, right? Like,
that just ruined it completely. I mean, it's got all the usual tropes of today's trailers anyway, the way they edit them and the pace of them.
It was the most annoying modern day trailer.
I'm surprised they didn't make it a Guardians of the Galaxy type of trailer.
Well, here's the thing that I thought of when I was watching. I was thinking, this reminds me of 300 Rise of an Empire, where you have a self-contained, really entertaining movie that really has a beginning, a middle, and an end. The story's kind of over with. And then it's like, okay, well, how can we stretch this out? And then they make this thing, which looks like, I mean, it looks like the Gladiator Awakens or something. And I just thought if you wanted to do a sequel, what's that?
Tom's obviously got a song for it.
Oh, okay.
It's a Gladiator, part 2. It's probably gonna be a bunch of doo-doo. But let me tell you, son, we got Denzel Washington. That's right. Some guy who kind of sounds like Russell Crowe. Here we go. They got his sword. They got his shield. They got his chest plate. Ain't that great? Wrong kid died.
Actually, though, I mean, it looked. I mean, the cinematography and everything looks great.
That was all on the spot. I made that shit up as I went. That's
awesome.
about how Ridley Scott's doing it now.
Really? Wow.
That's pretty
Ridley
much what
does the same
sounded
shit.
like, though.
I would like to have seen them make the original idea for the sequel, which was Russell Crowe in the Roman afterlife.
Right.
That
He's too old, though.
Fucking rocked.
He's too old, though. I thought if you're going to do a sequel to this, it should be something like, and I know that I just thought of this a few minutes ago. I was like, what if you just call it like Centurion, a Gladiator saga or something, and not have it be actually a Gladiator movie, but you continue the story from where the movie ended in the same
straight to streaming
universe.
Garbage, basically.
It is,
guys.
and that's the thing. It's like there's potential here, but unfortunately, it just looks like looks like something you get on Amazon Prime or something.
But we all like movies about gladiators, Timmy.
This is true. You ever seen a grown man naked?
Cinematography looks good though. I don't think that's
sniff your hair.
the problem. It just
Ridley Scott is done. I think that whatever movies he had to offer,
He
he's
made a
already
good
made
movie
them.
since the Mars movie, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, the original idea, which was if it had been made within a reasonable time of the first one, of Russell Crowe in the afterlife.
Well, that would have been batshit crazy fun, but like at the end of the day, This to me is taking away the mystique and the prestige of what was Gladiator. Because even though I was never like this huge fan of Gladiator, that was one of Ridley's movies that people could always throw at me whenever I'd be like, wrong kid died. And I'd be like, yeah, okay, fine. Because people love Gladiator.
Oh yeah.
But he's basically soiling it now with this
the
thing.
sequel nobody asked for or wanted.
No. Even Gladiator's biggest fans didn't ask for it, nor wanted.
That's what I mean. He's taking the legacy of what was an Oscar-winning, huge, kind of piece of the early 2000s, which we don't have a lot of good movies of that era to really call back to. So this is one.
And if you think back to the ending of the first Gladiator, it's very emotionally dramatic and then satisfying.
Exactly. Yeah. It doesn't call for any kind of sequel. Exactly. Right. Yeah.
Like I said, 300 Rise of an Empire, just like it's completely unnecessary continuation of a story that was done. And if you had to do anything with it, I mean, a series that, again, carried maybe some of the characters of the story forward that wasn't a direct sequel or something, maybe.
Or just a series that was like useless. A reboot in the sense of it being a TV series, right? Like that I have less of a problem with when they try to do something like that. Because you never know. You might get a MASH. You might get a Spartacus. You never know. Like for every 10 bad movies, you get something or shows based on movies, you get something decent, or maybe an odd couple. Sometimes it does happen. Sure we get the Lethal Weapons and shit, but I don't. He got paid.
Yeah, he got a big paycheck for this sucker.
He usually only does he usually doesn't do such crappy movies. I feel like this looks crappy.
This movie probably bought him his retirement boat.
Yeah, no kidding.
You're probably right.
The production, do we have a budget on this yet? Do we know?
Oh, I think it's like 200 some million.
At least, yeah.
I guess the big problem is that the after filming parties would be terrible.
Holy hell!
Without Oliver Reed.
What?
Take a guess at what the budget is on this bitch without anybody looking.
250 million. 250.
Say 371.
200 million.
No, it's over 200.
I was right.
What'd you say?
350.
No, actually, Price was the closest. It's $310 million.
What? Price is right.
Shitting me? I am not shitting you. That is 31 Godzilla minus ones.
Well, actually,
that's so stupid.
It's more like 2 acolytes.
I was only over by 50 million.
Did they rebuild the Colosseum from scratch for this? Like, what the?
I have no idea.
The Roman Empire from scratch.
Fucking everybody got paid though. Ridley Scott's like, watch this shit.
Well, it's gonna have to make
even if you only got 10% director's fee on that, that's 31 million right off the bat.
Jeez.
Script, think about it a minute. This is the producer's movie playing out in real fucking time.
Yes.
This is the biggest fucking scam in Hollywood history, y'all. Ridley's like, you want Gladiator 2? Give me $300 million.
Ridley's grandchildren and great-grandchildren, thank you.
And he pocketed $250 million of it and put 50 of it into the movie.
No, 20 or 30 have to go to Denzel.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, that's where the extra 10 comes into.
I don't think Denzel's up to 20 million again anymore.
That's what I say. That's the 10. That's the 10 million right there. They gave it to
Between this and Napoleon, Ridley Scott is riding off into the sunset with 2 giant bombs and a huge paycheck in each one. Good gravy.
I'll give him that. He's smart.
It's crazy, man. 300.
Tony Scott's up there somewhere looking down and going, Ridley, you fucker, how did you get away with
How'd you manage this? That's some major Coke money, motherfucker. Like, damn, that is a scam and a half, y'all.
Gonna take
this movie ain't making no money. In what fucking universe does this movie even remotely come close to that?
Did it look like a $300 million movie when you saw the trailer?
No.
I mean, I know it wasn't going to be cheap, but I was like,
I honestly thought 200 million would be too much when I said
You know what? Honestly, you know what this feels like to me? Script might know what I'm talking about. Okay, the Fleischers, when they were asked to do Superman, they didn't want to make it. The cartoon back in the day. So they literally are like, well, let's ask for more money than anybody's ever asked to do one of these cartoons and see what happens. And to their surprise, Paramount's like, yeah, do it. Here. You want more?
Oh, dude, it's one of the best tactics of negotiation. If you, if they approach you that you want to do something and you don't want to do it and you can walk away, you can always ask for more money to see how far they're willing to go.
Just chance.
And I've known a couple of people that got some really lucrative deals on stuff they initially refused to do, but then they're like, well, the price is right. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it the way I want to do it. And a lot of those things failed because they didn't want to do them. So the studio should not have hired them, and they knew it, but they took the money and they're like, screw you, I'm doing it.
Based on your thumbnail, Tom, I thought Shrek was going to be in this movie.
It would be better if he was.
He might be. I mean, it's DreamWorks, right?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I do have to drop out, Tom. But
yeah, you do. I was going to say, but didn't they have kind of a scene in the first Shrek that was kind of a gladiator scene?
They probably did. I can't remember.
I think so. When he comes into the town, and I swear there's a scene in an arena, but I could be wrong. Anyway,
it's a Scottish gladiator. He was wielding a deep fried haggis.
Yeah. I'll give you all a heart attack.
It's what ails you. Good for what ails you.
Yeah. Thank you for being here, Brian.
No, my pleasure, mate. Enjoy the rest of the show. Everybody out there in the chat, enjoy the rest of your evening. See you guys next time.
Well, I know you're glad to hear about the next bit we're going to get into anyway.
All right.
So.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, since he's a physical media fan like me. So, yeah, unless there's anything anybody else had to say about Gladiator 2.
Just I was wondering that Denzel couldn't even be bothered to adopt an accent for ancient Rome or something. It's just like, okay, it's just Denzel being Denzel.
And was there ever a slave that rose to being a king either? Because that was another bit I got from
a king. No, there's a couple of historical examples of them being very powerful slave owners themselves.
Yeah,
right. Well, I was gonna say because that's what this story is that Denzel used to be a slave and now he's the most powerful
slave
man.
owner. Yeah.
So anyway. That being said, we'll see how this goes. I don't think this movie is going to do very well, even with that astronomical budget. That's my point. That's why I think this is... I did 6. I checked. There's nothing there. I don't know what you sent me, but nothing came through. What did you send me? Are you talking about the song? Okay, is that what you're talking about? Okay, here we go. Now something came through. Okay, Ridley Scott's long-anticipated Gladiator sequel is leaving Paramount execs feeling a bit like Joaquin Phoenix, Emperor Commodus. Terribly vexed. Initially budgeted at $165 million. Holy shit! Sources say that figures ballooned something closer to 310. Holy crap! Yeah, sorry about that. Facebook wasn't updating for some reason.
That's great. I love it. That's great.
It says. It's a runaway, says one source. It's not being managed.
No kidding.
Yeah.
No kidding. Who was writing the checks on this thing?
Paramount. No wonder they're so deep in debt.
No kidding.
Jeez, if they just canceled this movie before putting it into production, they probably wouldn't have had to have merged with SkyDance.
Yeah.
Yeah, no shit. That's what I was just thinking.
Yeah, think about the liability that SkyDance is taking on right now.
Or if anything, SkyDance could have offered only $7 billion instead of $8.
Yeah, pay for the loss this thing will have. Because that's just production budget, right? Or at least estimate. That's not dealing with marketing or anything else.
No, that's just what happened. Why did they approve that though?
Because they knew they were on the way out. And what the hell?
I don't think they knew they were on the way out. Because this was greenlit 2 years ago.
I think so, yeah. And
so this is them trying to recapture what the first Gladiator was.
Okay, so
Hail Mary.
Okay, and then Paramount, there's other people that say insiders at Paramount countered that by saying that it was about 250 million. But even at 250 fucking million.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. I was getting there 6. Quit flipping
than 2
tables.
acolytes.
Yikes.
Yeah. No kidding.
But still, even if it's 250 million, that's going to be like what they have to make
strikes.
$1 billion.
Okay, according to this as well. According to this, the reason for the hike, the price hike, was because of the strikes, the shutdowns, all that kind of business. I'll give them about 50 million on that, I guess. Yeah, but still, 250 million.
Yeah, didn't need.
What were you doing spending that kind of money on this in the first goddamn place?
This should have been 100.
100, yeah, that's what it should.
100
tops,
tops.
Yeah, if you won, the only time you could ever make a counter argument if one of the actors in it was such a rock star actor to the point where they could say, "Okay, this name is going to put butts in seats. We got to do a little extra."
And you don't have that. You got Denzel Washington. That's it.
No disrespect to Denzel Washington, but
Pedro.
he's not. he's not.
Oh yeah, Pedro Pascal's in
Yeah,
this
see,
too. Yeah.
here's the thing:
too much Pedro.
Yeah, the first one worked really well because you didn't have, at least at that time, these top tier names to distract you. It was really a character movie, and it was really action oriented and very well directed and cinematography and everything. But you weren't distracted by these big names. And then you get Denzel Washington, Pedro Pascal. You got Ridley Scott directing the whole thing. You bring back all these other actors.
In this movie.
Yeah.
You know what? The only way I would actually enjoy this sequel to Gladiator is if the ending twist is that it's a callback to Virtuosity, because both Denzel and Russell Crowe were in that movie, and they're just in a virtual reality of Rome.
I finally got you out.
The last scene is Russell Crowe turning off the machine, and Denzel wakes up with like a thing stuck to his head, and like, what?
We're old, and you gained weight.
They were also an American gangster. What was it?
That's true.
Right. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I just want to a crappier movie of the two.
You think the ghost of Maximus will show up?
I was wondering that. I bet you it'll be, if they do, they'll probably will work some way of it in there. It'll be like a CGI young down version of with him doing the voice, probably.
Yeah.
I recently saw him in a commercial or in a movie, and he seemed really like he gained a few pounds. Russell Crowe.
That's what I said. That's what I was saying.
He's 70 pounds overweight.
Oh, he's way overweight. Yeah.
How did he gain so much though? Is it for specific roles? Or
no, he just didn't give a shit anymore.
Yeah.
He's at it. I don't think his legs are good anymore because he used to cycle a lot to the point where he would delay production by hours because he'd choose to cycle there as opposed to have his driver pick him up. And I think he blew out his knees.
It could have been something like
getting that old because he's
I know he started drinking heavily too, so I think
part of it never stopped.
No, but I mean even more so, like that was the other thing, and I don't think he has to work, right? You got to think about it. He's probably got so much money he can just sit there and piss most of it away for years.
If he lived a smart life, yeah, he probably could, but I don't know many.
And he did 2 exorcism movies in the last year.
I know, it's so weird.
And I heard he got paid quite a bit for one of them, but yeah.
Sure.
Does have technically a Marvel contract for 3 pictures.
That's true.
Did one with,
that's right. He was Zeus.
Mm-hmm.
For like 10 seconds.
Oh.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you, Six, for this. Yeah, I totally spaced this out. I forgot that the budget was because I didn't give a shit about the movie. That was a thing.
It's got to make like $500 million just to break even thereabouts.
I'd say more than that.
Yeah, probably.
Once you pile on advertising and everything.
Well, that's what I mean. Is like if the budget, let's say the budget is 250, then you get like double that for the marketing thereabouts, and of course you got whatever other overruns they had for probably reshoots and who knows what else, and Ridley Scott doing this, that, and the other.
Well, they've only got the delays. There's no rumors of reshoots on it. So that's only good sign you've got out of this.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Ridley got to shoot whatever the fuck. Yeah, clearly, if they gave him $300 million, he got to shoot whatever the fuck he wanted.
Yeah, so they would have to, even if they even did the bare bones marketing of say like a $70 million package plus, internet maintenance and whatnot, because again, with marketing today, anything you do on the internet, you have to basically maintain in perpetuity, and that costs money. So they have a flat rate for that basically says you have this forever. That's pretty expensive. That's what racks it up. So they have to do 1.2 if they want to actually see profit on this film.
You think they have to do a re-release of the original ahead of it?
I think they are actually. I think
to make up some of the losses on the thing, because people will go see the original in the theaters.
Well,
again.
the fucked up thing is with the Shrek announcement today. This is what happened when DreamWorks kind of split up. All the animated properties went over to Universal. And all the live action ones went over to Paramount. So that's how they got the rights to this, actually.
Okay.
So DreamWorks, as far as I know, has zero interest in this whatsoever now. And I don't know if Universal took any interest in it or not. I didn't see their logo on anything. And in the article that Six sent me, all it said was Paramount was the one on the hook for this thing.
Oh, does Paramount have access to the full library or just anything?
I think that they got the live action library, and then Universal got the animated library. Is my
re-releasing the original would be a no-brainer in my book.
Yeah. So we'll see. And I think that's the case because like the Deep Impact recent 4K was released by Paramount. But the Shrek movies are all released by Universal. So go figure. Madagascar and all that stuff was Universal, I think. Anyway, we got some good news.
Yeah.
As I've kind of been predicting, Toho will be releasing a 4-disc Godzilla -1 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray Deluxe Japan Collector's Edition for U.S. customers. Okay, so there is there's a bit of a caveat to this. You got to get it shipped in from their official website as of right now. We don't know if and when there's going to be an Amazon link or anything like that. There might be a more stripped down version around Christmas time, I'd imagine, because this is like a 4-disc set. And unfortunately, the special features are only in Japanese with no subtitles. So that's one thing to keep in mind.
Yeah, that's a dilemma.
That does suck for us. But the movie does have the English subtitles, so that's the key thing, and on both versions.
Do you think that the stripped down version that could probably arrive around Christmas would have fewer special features, but the ones that they do have would be in English subtitles?
Probably. That would be my guess. It'd be just a more standard version if they're allowed. See, here's the question I'm asking myself, and I'm wondering this is why Toho's releasing it this way. I think they have a deal where if it's in the US, they have to release it through was it Funimation or whoever it is that owns the rights to the video, because they did the Shin Godzilla one, so I think they do any new one, so they don't want to give them any money probably. So they're just doing it this way. So it's like $65 plus shipping. So it's not cheap. But you get the 4K disc and the Blu-ray
Why
disc.
is it 4 CDs though? What's going to be on it?
You get the first one is the 4K disc of the movie with Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos and English subtitles. The second disc is a Blu-ray with minus color. Or no, that's just a standard Blu-ray. And disc 3 is minus color. So you get the black and white version with English subtitles. And then disc 4 would be all the special features. So there you go. And it comes in a digipack as we see here. So it's pretty much like the Japanese version, only it has subtitles on it now. Because the original Japanese version did not have subtitles.
I see. All right. Well.
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, I can't guarantee there will be a US version for sure. But Bill even said, he didn't say, I don't think he said in the article, but I saw him say it on Bill Hunt of the Digital Best say on, I think it was X, that, yeah, it'll most likely get a more stripped down standard version eventually. I would imagine. And they have an English dub for it now as well, because the Netflix version has it. So they might do that, is do like a US version with both of those on it. My curiosity is it might also have to do with the Netflix deal, is they can't release it on Blu-ray and the DVD in the US officially, so it has to just be region free or whatever. That could be. But anyway, I thought that was a bit of interesting, good news, and a lot of people have been asking for a long time. So September, we get it. I believe it's September 9th. I remember the exact date. I could be wrong, but it's in September. That's all I know. Yeah. There you go, guys. And other than that, was there anything else you guys wanted to touch upon? I know you sent me a couple of ideas in the chat.
I mean, just out of curiosity, there's been so much drama with the whole Paramount merger with SkyDance, and at the end, isn't SkyDance the same people that have been there doing stupid things with Paramount for years?
I've been saying that all week, man.
Yeah, you've said that before on a stream, and I
I've
totally
said it quite
agree.
a few times, but yeah.
Right, but like Ellison for me is another type of Redstone. It's just another billionaire son.
Nepotism baby.
Yeah, exactly the same breed. Why is it? And what's she going to do now? She's supposedly going to take a back seat. What exactly is she doing?
My understanding is the merger, if it goes through, it has to go through regulatory, and they still have a 45-day window where other people can put in offers. And I heard a rumor in the background that both Warner and Sony are still in talks with them.
I believe that. I believe that.
So it's still a plausibility there that something could come in at the last minute and throw this whole thing off. That being said, my understanding is that SkyDance would merge with them. There's like a fee that has to be paid out. I believe for the shareholders, and then after the merger, Skydance's executives and whatnot will take over Paramount. Does that sound about right? Script from my
but Sherry Redstone doesn't just leave completely, right?
I think she still owns stock, but she has zero vote in anything anymore, or controlling anything.
I think the deal basically has her sell her controlling stocks, but she has her the regular stocks that us guys can still have. She has a massive amount of those anyway. So
yes. And the deal they're looking at right now would get like $23 a stock per shareholder, I think is what I read.
Something around that, yeah.
I feel like somebody's going to torpedo this. Like with this 45-day window, it seems like some kind of torpedoing is going to come in, but maybe I'm wrong.
I think Warner or Sony could be that torpedo.
And
I think you're right.
Here's the kicker. What if they actually gave us something where she gets to hold a title of sorts, maybe she's given supposedly a little control or something, she would go with one of those other options, I think.
Maybe. I think she's just more worried about the company staying together and her getting the best deal as far as money. Because then to her, it looks like a win and feels like a win.
She has an ego. She has a lot of money, even if she walks out.
She does,
now.
but I don't think she cares so much about control anymore or anything like that. She just, her legacy is her most important thing right now because she was one of the first big female owners of a studio like that.
To flush it down the toilet,
from her dad, and she went and flushed it down the toilet, basically even worse than her old man did. And right now, that's her legacy. So she's got to come out of this in some way, smelling better than she does right now. Is what I think.
Well, she's one of the ones that argued against her dad for splitting the company in the first place. Like that's the thing. She when Sumner said, "Oh, we're going to split," she protested, and that's caused a little bit of their falling out. Now that she's back, she's got it together. She's like, "I'm going to win, come hell or high water." So if this is the deal that I get that keeps that company together as the way I initially intended, that's the deal she's going to take. Man, if Warner Brothers Discovery wants to make an offer, they can, but then the courts get involved. And right now with SkyDance, the courts don't get involved. So it's all down to who's going to make the final call at the end of the day.
Money can wash away a lot of past sins if you make enough of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, here's a little something. I don't know. Maybe this script might find this interesting. Six just sent this to me. Down from a record 15 series to 6 on air, Greg Berlanti talks peak TV demise. Strikes, Scooby-Doo, and Scarlett Johansson, Channing Tatum, chemistry, and Fly Me to the Moon. The Deadline Q&A.
Greg Berlanti's having trouble finding work now? Oh, geez, that's not a bad sign at all. That's a great sign. That's exactly what we need.
This hack still has 6 shows on the air. How is that possible?
Yeah.
They're probably running out. He probably had multi-season deals that are just kind of pittering out. I mean, his last show technically on the air is Superman and Lois, but that's been canceled. So that premieres this year, whenever, and then we don't have to see that trite anymore. And then I think he has a couple of other small ones. I think he's still associated with the Walker series, which is kind of running out.
Oh, yes, that one's done also.
And I think he's involved with Tracker, which got a second season, but it's a really, it's a terrible show, but it's cheap to shoot. So I think that's why it's still holding on there. I think he got a 2-season deal, so they have to give him those 2 seasons.
Yeah,
I'll be more relieved. I'll be more relieved when it says this article, when there's an article like this and it says that he has 0 on the air.
Yeah, me too. The Fly Me to the Moon stuff was, I saw a little bit of that. Did not hold my interest. Didn't buy any of it.
That's what most of this is about. Yeah. I wanted to see what was up with the Scooby-Doo news and stuff like that.
I'm a little wary of anything that tries to remake the moon landing in anything other than a respectful way. My grandfather worked on Apollo 11, and I got a little bias there. So,
oh yeah, the fact that they would think someone like Kubrick would fake it, even though Kubrick had such an integrity, he would never do such a thing.
Yeah, and then again, I understand it's all tongue in cheek and everything. At the same time, it's you see that video of that guy years ago, Buzz Aldrin's walking to some convention or something, and some guy starts badgering about the moon landing being faked, and Buzz Aldrin just smacks the guy right in the mouth.
Yeah, that's great.
One of the most satisfying pieces of film I ever saw. I was like, that's exactly what should happen. So I understand it's a big joke, but at the same time, kind of like, no, not my cup of tea.
Heck, man, me in science class in our high school, we built the laser so that you could hit the reflectors off, but we had to travel across the country in order to do it. We did it, and it worked. Nice. There's no other way you can do that. You can't fake that.
No. I mean, if you don't want to do like a Capricorn 1 kind of thing where it's not about the moon landing, you're not actually put it in historical context or something, that's fine.
Yeah,
that's fine. But the moon landing itself, I feel like, maybe I'm just a bit too oversensitive. Well, I think it's off limits in my mind.
He's asked here about his, less than half of his shows, less than half the amount of shows on the air than his height. And he kind of just jumps through a few hoops here. And the one thing he brings up that kind of I found silly is he talks about the episode count. It's like, Well, that was not something I would use as an excuse, because if you're doing less episodes, then you should be able to do more work and have more shows on the air, so you could still artificially pad out that number, unlike when you were doing 24 episodes a year like he's talking about here. So even there, he's still in kind of like la land with, he's like, I'm old enough now that I've been through a few expansions and contractions, twists and turns in the business when people are saying, oh, this is selling now and this isn't selling, or the advent of streamers. I would say a few things are obviously happening. One, the episode count is going down. Well, then that means you should be able to work on more, right? Because otherwise his thing that he leads up to at the end is that nothing has changed for him, basically, which I don't believe.
Which is a lie. I know that.
Exactly. That's what I mean. That's what I just said. Bullshit.
Yes. Episode count is going to be down for this year and next year for sure. I think 2027 is when we're going to start seeing seasons back towards the 22 episode mark, because our pilot season is going to be making a resurrection next year. Studios know that network and cable ad supported stuff is where the money's at. Once people get adjusted to the streaming side of things, where ads are placed properly and among your shows, and people actually want to watch their stuff again, which is going to take some time, that's where it's going to be. And we will return back to the 22 episode season, in which case, oh boy, you're going to have another pocket of people complaining that they missed the old 8 and 10 episodes because they didn't want to have to go through all 22 episodes. That's going to be a pocket audience that you're going to have to watch out for and not listen to.
I remember when a show that short was called a mini series.
They are, yeah. Mini series, 3 to 6 episodes. That's it.
Yeah. Anyway, let's see what the audience is talking about here. SFX314 Sabretooth Raptor sends in 5, says Gladiator 2 is not going to do well at all. It would have had a chance 3 years after the first Gladiator. It's no Top Gun 2 and can't make it straight to DVD. Yeah. I mean, that's the state. You don't have a Tom Cruise, right? Penny has been here for 5 months and says, when the IRS or feds going to investigate Hollywood? Never.
Yeah.
That'd be against their
investigate
interests.
for hiring. I mean, Title VII, just corporate America and elsewise, but Hollywood in particular, especially behind the scenes, Title VII has been violated left, right, and center, and every studio has bragged about it without any consequences. So
yeah. Ghost Text sends in 5 and says, hey, Script, how'd you feel about Godzilla -1's resolution? Given how strong the sacrifice theme was?
I haven't seen Godzilla -1 yet. I missed the theater run, so I've got the digital that buddy from connected with Toho gave me.
It's on Netflix now too.
There's also, I have access to it on Netflix, so I'm just waiting to get some time to sit down and check it out.
I think you'll enjoy it.
But I mean, listen, I like the original Godzilla a lot, and I like the Shin Godzilla one too. So the stuff that I've seen, even the behind the scenes footage, looks fantastic. So I'm kind of really game for.
This is probably the best remake of Godzilla there ever has been. Obviously, it's in the line of like The Fly, that kind of a thing as far as remakes go. Jason Webster, one thing I know Script and I didn't enjoy. I don't know if Price watched it too or anybody else here.
I watched it, yes.
Sends in $10, and I got to disagree with you on this one, buddy. Watch Beverly Hills Cop Axel F. I enjoyed it. A solid, not great entry into franchise. A few genuinely funny scenes, callbacks to Beverly Hills Cop, and Eddie Murphy returned to form as Foley. 7 out of 10. And that last part is what I got to disagree with you on, because obviously the rest is your opinion. You have every right to that. But I fundamentally do not feel like Eddie is playing Axel Foley in this movie. There are just a few scenes where it's like, that's not Axel. Axel wouldn't do that. And there's precedent for it. One example I'll give you is the scene where he's like shows up at his daughter's work with that purple suit.
Purple suit, that was terrible, yeah.
And he's like, this is a nice suit. I got a $50 suit for $40. He is a nice suit. She's like, that's a crappy suit. And I'm sorry, Eddie Murphy or Axel Foley just, in Beverly Hills Cop 2, if you remember, was running around in like a $2,000-$3,000 suit. Right. So he knows what a good suit is.
Yeah, he does. But I mean, the difference being is that this time he has to spend his own money. He's not getting blue slips from the police
That
department.
may be fair point, but even my point is as a character.
Eddie Murphy joke.
Exactly my point. Yeah. It's Eddie Murphy being Eddie Murphy, not Axel Foley, because even Axel Foley would know better to say this is a nice suit.
Right.
He would be like, this is the best suit I could get for $50. Okay, I'm broke.
No, if anything, the Axel Foley joke would have been, he's like, he would have been in a really nice suit. She'd be like, where'd you get that? He's like, actually, you have to take me back to the, you have to pretend that I'm old and senile. You have to take me back to the shop because I just walked out with this on. like,
Right.
like the whole joke is that he just went into a really nice place. He tried on a suit. Hey, can I try this on? And he just left and then went to see his daughter. And he's like, you got to tell them a lie that I'm senile and doddering so I can return the suit and get my old clothes back because they're back at the shop. Because that's more of an Axel Foley joke.
And speaking of the daughter, if they would have made her different, that would have been better too. Too many scenes of her disappointed in her father really weighed down the movie.
She cannot act. But that whole scene with them in the impound, like not talking to the gay guy, obviously, but like when she's trying to do exposition of the case, she is very, very wooden on that. Unnatural. It's stiff. It's not there. And there's no dynamic or chemistry to their relationship either. I mean, the only time she kind of gives a performance is at the very end where she actually cries in the right part of her eye. And it's like, okay.
You know what? That final scene there at the end, I thought she was more pleasant in those 2 minutes than she was in the entire movie. If they had gone more for that look and that vibe and more of a nice rapport with her father, you could still have a conflict or you can have a disagreement, but this kind of more fun or positive vibe, that actually worked a whole lot better. Whether she is a good actress or not, I don't know, but it would have been better.
And Script and I talked about this after the show, more so than we did on the show the other day, on the morning show. And we both agreed. There's a lot of tell not showing in this movie.
Too much.
And there's things that we needed to see and that we're not seeing, and they're very important to the plot and to understanding. One is that the mother, we need more idea of what's going on with the mother, whether she's dead, alive. We clearly get the impression she's still alive. But she has a role in this, right? That's another thing, too, that we don't get any of her perspective on it. And I think that was a missed opportunity there. But that's neither here nor there. Point is that's a tell, not show us thing when you should be showing us, not telling us. Same thing with the whole catalyst for the whole point. Like, we don't even find out what the whole catalyst for this is until, like 20, 30 minutes into the movie. And they don't even really show you what it is. You never meet the person that this is all about.
No,
because the whole plot is predicated on an undercover cop that was killed and whether or not he's dirty. You cannot talk and have this character throughout the entire film without showing the audience this person at one point in the movie.
Well, I mean, that's Will Beall for you. And if you want to know who Will Beall is, he's a guy that works with Zack Snyder. Not anymore though, but he did work with Zack Snyder. The guys who did The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent had to come in and try and fix this script. And I would strongly recommend all of you guys sign up to my Patreon for the free tier. I've got the written text review there. I think before your buddy got to see his test screening, they did a previous one and they reshot the entire third act, excluding the truck scene. And the reason I say that is there's literally a moment in the movie where it's nighttime. They go to rescue Rosewood. And then as they leave the building, it's morning.
I can go back and check.
That is literally what happens. They skip like 6 or 8 hours. And then the entire escape from that area is just kind of like brushed off. It's just one car chases them and then wipes out. And then that's it. And I'm like, this is very anticlimactic for what is actually going on in this scene. They cut stuff out. They cut a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah,
out.
you can tell.
This back up in the third act. And
I think there is some stuff that happened differently in the version that he was telling me about, because he also asked me about the music again too, not too long ago. Because he said they just kept reusing the Axel Foley theme throughout the movie. I'm like, well, either that was the score or they just copied that, because that's really basically all it is.
The Rosewood theme that introduced his character, I really liked that because that was well done.
That was probably the only new theme in it otherwise, because there's only one or two new themes in it, but they're barely recognizable. And then memorable, I should say.
The other part too is like they kind of rolled back Rosewood a bit, because in Cop 3 he's more bureaucratic and less gun crazy, and in Cop 2 he is super gun crazy.
Well, he's power crazy, and they switched out the one for the other, because like that's the joke with him in part 3 is he thinks he's got all the power in California, and everywhere, every time he goes somewhere, everybody's like, who, what?
Yeah, and then on top of that, but he does have the power because he overreacted with that one raid, and they're like, they decided to discipline him because of that. Which is funny.
And Billy's the only one who's still kind of somewhat in his character.
Taggart is nowhere near.
They made him an idiot. They made Taggart an idiot.
Because
Well,
you know what
that's
they
what I was
should have
saying,
done?
yeah.
They should have had done this. It should have been a sting where Taggart is playing a role, and that whole when he's yelling at Foley to get out of his office is just part of that. Because what the reveal should be is that he suspected Cade. He got Billy.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought would happen.
Sure this was done. He communicated to Billy to bring Foley in there because that third party would throw Cade off his game and allow them to secure the arrest. And if they did that, I would have saved Taggart's character because now he's just back into his part one movie of like, I'm stubborn, I don't believe anything.
Well, it's not even that that pissed me off so much. It was the way that he reacted to, you have your friend of 40 years telling you this shit.
Yeah.
You have your employee whose case got fucked up because of this telling you this shit. And you have your friend who's missing now, who is your partner, which he gets it wrong, says 30 years. No, they've been partners for more than 40 years, technically.
I mean, even Eddie Murphy said he'd been a cop for 30 years, but he's been a cop for
40 that's
years.
Bullshit. Yeah, he's been cop for longer than that. Exactly. Anyway, so they screw up a lot of that shit. We're not even going to get into the nitpicky shit right now. I'm talking about the broad strokes here. Like, you have those three characters alone telling Taggart this shit, and he's still like, no, I'm not going to believe it. Fuck you. Get out of my office. That is where he lost me as that is not Taggart. There's no way. No way. Maybe Billy... Maybe because he knows Billy can get a little overzealous about things, and I could see those two having a final blowout where Billy, is like, no, God damn it, Sarge, I'm right. You're not listening to me. And he finally is like, you know what? You never taken that tone with me before, Billy. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
That I could see. But now if you got Axel showing up from clear to fucking Detroit and he's telling you this shit and Axel is exactly. There's no reason for Axel to come out here and make these accusations out of nowhere. Right. Exactly. Even though you could have him sitting there going, look, he could have the scene where, and it could have been a little differently. He's like, you could take him aside and kind of like the Bogomil scene in the first movie. He's like, forget what you can prove. Just tell me what you know. Or he could be like, look, Axel, I get what you believe, and you probably want to believe this because your daughter's involved, but I have nothing unless you can bring me something solid. I got to go with Cade on this. I can't believe you until you bring me some evidence. Like, that's all he had to say.
Yeah, well, I mean, the tip-off should have been when Billy's like, yeah, we busted this guy for coke, and he's like, we tested it was powder. I'm like, that should be your first red flag. What, like, who would carry powder in that shape that way unless it's to throw people off, right?
Well, and that should
have been the impetus to be like, Taggart's like, okay, there's something else going on. I mean, it's just
the stupidity of the whole. I hate USB drives being the MacGuffin too.
Oh, the SD card? Yeah.
Yeah. That's so stupid. I hate that. Because that's the other thing is by the time you get to that plot point at the end, it doesn't matter anymore. You have about 50 fucking witnesses by now that can go against him. And so it means he literally would have to kill everybody, to make this work anymore. Yeah.
I mean, they do it in dialogue where they're like, yeah, Cade's on the run after the helicopter scene, but it's like, then he doesn't need the SD card anymore. So it's stupid. Like he's already committed a crime.
And that's another time when Taggart's acting stupid. When Taggart stepped out of the fucking police station and Cade's sitting there firing at the goddamn helicopter over top of a bunch of innocent people.
Yeah, why doesn't he draw his gun and be like,
why doesn't he draw his gun and blow him away? Like, that makes absolutely no sense.
Also, you're under arrest.
It was too quick that they had Kevin Bacon already at a party just flashing his thing. I feel like they too quickly showed you that he's the bad guy.
Well, and I never had a problem with that part because, like I've said before, in all the other films, Eddie always knows who the bad guy is throughout the entire film. It's getting everybody else to believe him. That's the plot. And that's what they're trying to do here, but it doesn't work the way that they're doing it because everybody else, there's too many other people involved already that know the motherfucker's dirty. That's the problem. Unlike Ellis DeWalt and the guys from the gun club, and I just totally blanked out the guy in the first movie for some fucking reason. Victor Maitland, thank you. The difference between those guys and this is you have several fucking people who already know this shit that is going down. And you already have one dead, dirty cop because of this. Right? Like, so there's so much fucking weight on top of this already to where Victor Maitland and the gun club people and Ellis DeWalt, they have more than enough plausible deniability that it takes Axel that leap to go through those hoops to get us to the end to where Bogomil and everybody finally believe him. Right? And Bogomil on his own, he's already down on that fucking case. So it's Eddie who's got to come in because he's in a fucking coma now. And he didn't tell anybody else because his boss is being a dick at that time. And that all makes sense in those movies. Even part 3, when the people shit on Ellis DeWalt, I'm like, are you kidding me? Ellis DeWalt was one of the best bad guys they had. In fact, they basically ripped his entire thing off for Kevin Bacon. The only difference is Kevin Bacon is a cop. That's the only difference.
But that's the thing. Once you're a cop and you're hanging out these parties and clubs and everybody knows you're corrupt, I just feel like it didn't work for me with Kevin Bacon being the cop. If he was just a bad guy, that would have worked better for me.
There should have been another higher up, is what you're saying. I get you.
Well, something in it that's, I mean, listen, I appreciate the idea of, oh man, there's this guy who's part of the cop, who's basically corrupted a whole section of the police. Then you play into the, okay, we don't know who we can trust except for Taggart, Rosewood, and Murphy, right? Like those, and Foley. Those are the three that you have to figure out. And the other two is we need to do a sting in order to expose how deep the corruption goes. We know who's at the top. We don't know how far it goes. So anything we do, anything we reach out to, we'll get to him and we're done for. Because remember, he's an interdepartmental officer, which means he's not anchored at BHPD. He's right underneath the commissioner. So he's got a
special
lot of power, maneuverability, and a lot of special stuff. So you could actually almost say, well, it can justify his position because he's not really a cop anymore. He's a bureaucrat with a badge. And that's how he can hide some of the stuff. But they don't explore that because the three writers that they got in this have never written a mystery procedural before in their life. And you can tell. Because one of the things that you want to do, especially with the Beverly Hills Cop dynamic, is you need conflict between Foley and whoever he's working with in this film. It needs to be fun conflict. Like the conflict that Foley has with Taggart and Rosewood in the first two is the fact that they're by-the-book cops. Foley is also technically a by-the-book cop, but he knows how to bend the rules enough to get what he needs to without it compromising the case. And those guys don't know how to do that. So that's where the friction comes from. What they should have done in this one is they should have made Abbott still dating his daughter so that now he's got a family dynamics. Like, you're with my daughter. Oh, instead they just say he's not with her anymore. And then he just kind of acknowledges, oh yeah, they had intercourse. And then it's thrown away. They don't care anymore. It's like, no, you have to play with that because that's the chemistry that these.
Well, it is played with, but not well.
We only get one point of actual conflict between them that's fun. And that's the helicopter.
Exactly.
Like, that should be through the whole film about his daughter, about the way he is as a cop. Everything, and she'll come into the end when he's wheeled away at the end and he sees, Abbott, embrace his daughter and gives her a kiss and knows that he's going to take care of her. That should be his relief there.
Well, and I'll correct you on one thing, Script, because it does come up as a conflict throughout. But this was, remember, the one time where I tell you they set up a joke that they don't pay off because they keep asking, has he taken you to a strip club yet?
They only asked him that once. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. But they asked another character, I think, too, or something like that. But anyway, I thought it came up at least more than once. Either way, they wind up at that stupid karaoke bar instead of a strip club. It's like, no, you have to set it up now. You've set it up the expectation. You have to have them accidentally somehow now wind up at a strip club. And Axel's freaking the fuck out, basically playing the opposite of what he was before in the strip club. Remember? Like, that was the thing, is he's like, chill out, you guys. This is,
that's somebody's daughter up there. That's what he could be saying.
Yeah, now he's like, they didn't have any fun with that aspect of the character. Instead, it was his daughter treating him like shit through the whole fucking movie, berating him through the whole fucking movie, giving us this vague idea of why he supposedly somehow abandoned them by sending them out to California to protect them. She is 30 some goddamn years old now. She's an adult. I don't give a fuck. There was 10 years there, and he even says it. It's like, bitch kept hanging up on him, yet she's still treating him like shit through the whole movie. He tried. And then you find out the whole main reason is mainly because the shit that he tried to do with her when she was a kid was not shit she wanted to do. But of course, it's shit that's going to come in handy now when she needs to get out of handcuffs and all these other things, because he taught her cop shit. Which again,
he's just another "it's all about me" character.
It was, and that's what she came off as.
That dialogue and that exchange,
self-entitled crap.
Well, hold on 1 second. That exchange betrays the very first shot we see of Foley's apartment when he's looking at photos of him with his daughter, and they're both happy, having fun, clearly doing stuff that she wants to do.
Yep.
So it's clearly it betrays that very thing. So this tells me that they did not know how to have these two characters in conflict, where the conflict should be Eddie believes that the cop. That her client is a cop killer and that the cop is not corrupt, but he does think there's something suspect there. She's trying to defend him. And then he also has to deal with the fact that the guy that's investigating the case that they're at odds with are in a relationship. That's Abbott and Saunders. I mean, I will say him making fun of the Saunders name was good.
There was a few good bits. I'm not going to say there wasn't. And the helicopter works.
Didn't work at all. But I just, there's no dynamic here. And I will say this. I think one thing that makes the Foley character stronger here is the fact that even though she treats him like crap, he doesn't fall into it. And the movie doesn't say that she's right for that. He keeps coming back and it's like, no,
It's
I'm
true.
still your dad. I'm still pushing through. I still love you. I'm going to do everything I can for you, because he is showing her that she's wrong.
But see, we get the same damn dynamic.
In other dynamics, in other films with that type of dynamic.
And we get that same goddamn dynamic in Garfield, only it works better in Garfield. And a lot of it's because we're following Garfield and not the other way around. That helps, right? It's our hero is the one who has the issue.
You also get
the other character,
the inciting incident of that thing, right? So
yes,
you know. So we as the audience have the dramatic clarity of knowing what's really happening. That's what's lost here. We don't know. We only know, the 12th Street Mafia. I mean, if Eddie did a joke where he's like, your mother's worth in 12th Street Mafia, and he's like, you know what? Why did I move you guys here? If she's more dangerous than them, she could have protected you. I should have went on to Beverly Hills Cop. Like, that would have been a Foley joke that he would have followed through with.
That, or like we said, you have to show that, or you have the reason for him going out there being that, like we said, either the mafia figures out where they are, ends up killing his wife, or he's got to get out to protect his daughter, or whatever it was. We came up with a dozen other better reasons.
Richard, which what the first and third movie did, which is these LA people are messing around in Detroit, and the clue led him back to Beverly Hills. And it just so happens like, this is also the first time where the Detroit set piece that Foley does, he gets his man. Like in the first movie, he doesn't get the guy gets away, and he comes back in the second movie and he doesn't get him there because he has to leave midway to help Bogomil. But this one here, he gets these jewel thieves. They're arrested. He's done. You see him actually be a great cop. Like we know he is up to this point, but in Detroit, he's actually got his man. And it would have been interesting if, it wasn't them doing jewelry thieves, but they were drug running, and the drugs were actually coming out of Beverly Hills. And then when he goes home, he gets a call from Rosewood saying, hey, this is happening here. He's like, you know what? I have to go out to Beverly Hills anyways. Let me check on you. Let me check on my kid. And then it all ties in together. And then that's how you can bring in that 12th Street Mafia thing.
Well, yeah, because like I said, there's your connection, because that actually adds some weight to it.
Another thing, they tried to make Jeffrey sort of an Iceman, and that kind of was weird too, because Jeffrey was kind of an idiot.
He's also sleaze, but like he's kind of matured now.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's closer to being in character. That was another thing that Script and I discussed is, see, this is the weird thing about the whole dynamic between Beverly Hills and Detroit. Jeffrey is the only thing keeping Eddie in Detroit, if you think about it. Because this is another thing, is they have forgotten that Eddie was an undercover cop. Because in the opening scene, I get it, they're trying to recreate the opening shot from the first movie where it's all summertime and you see the kids playing, people walking out and da-da-da-da-da. But the problem with this scene now is everybody knows Axel Foley. It's going to be kind of hard to be an undercover cop in a city where everybody fucking knows who you are.
I think he got promoted out of that in that case.
It may be the case, but he's still running the same kind of shit. And that's the whole thing, is he fucked his case up and he's got to use this other guy to get on the case. That is kind of an Axel Foley moment. So this is where I agree with people, like the first act of the film and the final few minutes of the film actually feel like a Beverly Hills Cop movie. After that, it kind of just turns into this meandering thing with the fucking daughters for so goddamn long. And again, you can even still have the dynamic of she decided to be a defense lawyer out of spite. Cause every girl does that. They hit that point, and you can even make a joke about that. Like he's like, I know you were always pissy about me being a cop and shit, but I didn't really think you'd become a defense lawyer. At least when you said you were his gun, I thought maybe that you grow out of it or something, or like it was a college thing. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing
that all women do.
Yeah, that college experiment thing, like, cause you were always, you always seemed like you wanted to be a cop. Like you set it up that she always did look up to her dad, but there was an inciting incident that set him off on this different path. And it could just very well be that adolescence, right? Like, cause you get to a point and a teenage daughter is so difficult, right? And now she's an adult and they have to kind of repair that bridge. And it doesn't necessarily that they have to have animosity towards each other. It could even be just that he's out there and he's, hanging out with her and stuff. And then she keeps getting pissy with him because she realizes he's just working on this case. Because having her being a part of the case works, but it doesn't work when we get to the scene that I hate the most. And you and I think agree on this scene. When they're standing there and she's like, we're done here. When he gives her enough evidence for her case so she can help the kid get off. And he starts talking to Joseph Gordon-Levitt about the rest of the case. Yeah, and she gets pissy with him. Yeah. And I'm sitting here going, bitch, did anybody forget that Billy is fucking missing? And it's half your fault, if not most your fault. And you're sitting here acting like this. Like that's the part that really pissed me off. Cause I'm like, that's where she as a character should have understood what was going on and been like, okay, Now we need to figure out where Billy is, or we get, somebody had to have set,
you're only looking for reasonable doubt, which I get for a lawyer. But the thing is, if you want to have a stronger case, it's like, let's get the other witness there.
Agreed.
That's Billy. Now, it's not her fault that Billy got captured.
Well, he got involved because of her.
He got her involved because of her.
That's true. You're right. It was the other way around. I'm sorry.
Because of him. She's nothing to do with this. So, I mean, I understand the conflict there, but the fact of the matter is like, Eddie would have had a great opportunity to be like, listen, you need a stronger case than that, because I know how these defense attorneys work. She's like, really? Because I'm a defense attorney. He's like, yeah, but they're prosecution. They're the state. They're going to hit you with everything. They're going to say that even the stuff that he found is not going to be either. They're going to try,
especially a cop killer. Yeah.
And there's definitely there's perspective out there. What we need here is, remember, we need the SD card, we need Billy Rosewood, and we need all of his notes from the investigation, because they tore up his office and they didn't find anything. So he's clearly got it hidden somewhere.
And they need to prove that Cade is the person who's responsible for it all too, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, well, like on their side, their other case, because again, there's technically two cases here. The first case is the corruption
on Joseph Gordon's case. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the corruption case is the case that Eddie's on. Joseph Gordon is basically on what happened to this undercover cop, and that pairs into Jane's case, which is defending the guy that's been pinned,
because he says that Billy fucked up his whole case to begin with, because he was originally on that case, from my understanding.
He was on the drug trailing case.
Yeah.
They had no idea, but the thing is, Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character has no idea that's connected to corruption within the police force. Like, that's the thing. Billy figures that out, and that's what's causing him to screw up his case.
Yeah.
Because he's just looking at it as, oh, our undercover cop got killed trying to expose a drug ring. I'm investigating the drug ring, and now Billy's telling me that, or Billy's doing stuff that's causing me to my case to be screwed up, because it's now involving deeper police connections that are, from his perspective, assumptions and conjecture as opposed to actual evidence. And that's throwing everything, because Abbott is technically investigating Chiholo, right? And that's just, it's all over the place. Like, again, these guys who wrote this have no concept of how to write proper cop procedure.
I would have done a completely different story altogether. Like, everything about this movie and the way things develop and why he comes and the way Taggart is and Rosewood being kidnapped and all that stuff, I didn't like any of that. I would have done something from scratch that's completely different, maybe keeping a few basic elements if you force me to, but aside from that, I would go in a completely different direction.
Me too. Honestly, I don't think Axel needs a kid.
I don't think so either.
I mean, first of all, I think he would be a good father anyway, and I liked the way they treated him better in the pilot in that respect.
Yeah,
but at the end of the day, I think Axel works better.
Like, Axel's still treated really well. Like, the friends that are his friends love him. It's the enemies that hate him, and like, that's part of a movie. Your hero is not supposed to be liked by his enemies or revered by his enemies. But like, that's the one thing that they kind of kept consistent between this and the film, is that everybody that knows Axel kind of really does like and respect him. And the difference being is that in the son and the pilot, the son loves his dad. He just wants to not be overshadowed by him because he's in Detroit. Right. He wants to try and spread his own wings, see what he can do on his own out in LA. Whereas in this one here, it's bitterness, it's animosity, and it's done through being told as opposed to being shown. And because there's no dramatic irony for the audience to understand what really happened between these two, it's completely disconnected from us to the point where it's really hard to watch her as a character try and act this way.
And it stretches on forever. It's like every scene that she's with him. Oh, you didn't do this. You didn't do that. It's like, this is a Beverly Hills Cop movie. I don't need to hear this shit.
That's what I mean. The family crap bogged it down. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
It sounds like Axel F was made just so they can introduce this character.
Kind of.
And it almost feels like you didn't, once again, no, not to disrespect on Eddie Murphy, because no, I'll still always have admiration for the good that he's done, especially my upbringing. But it just feels like this movie is almost pointless in its making. By the way, it sounds like what you guys are talking about. It sounds like this.
I think they made this to not end on Beverly Hills Cop 3. That's basically what
that's part of it. And they also have a 2-picture deal on it. So we're going to get another one. Hopefully the 5th one's better, but I'm not holding my breath on that.
Yeah, I think it's too
late. But at
the
end of the day, I think the member berries that they leaned into were the wrong member berries.
Mm-hmm.
If they were going to copy anything, because they did copy plot points and beats, but they didn't actually copy a plot, right? Like, that's the problem, is this is a fucking mess when it comes to writing. And I know script, you could probably go through all day, nitpick the fuck out of it. Because like you said, even at one point, it really goofs up at the end there. And I got to watch it again just because I was so just beside myself through the whole fucking movie.
I had to go back and rewatch it. Rewatch that section multiple times. It's nighttime when they go to rescue Rosewood. When they got out of that same building, you see the sun rising already up as if it's dawn, and then the rest of it's all in the day. It's all in the day. So they spent hours driving from the golf club to whatever warehouse they went to the point where it became nighttime. And I will say that ballet scene, that exchange between Eddie Murphy and that valet was the cringiest stuff I in the movie.
There's a lot of cringy stuff in the movie.
Yeah,
I only chuckled a few times, and chuckles at best. Unfortunately, never once a belly laugh.
No belly laughs.
No belly laugh. I liked the whole him making fun of the two officers in the Lego cop car. That was very fully.
I mean, when he was gonna do the whole bit, and then he just says like "fuck it," basically, that was kind of funny.
And then you know what? That concierge, she had a nice, pleasant. She wasn't flustered. She wasn't embarrassed because of Eddie Murphy. So she'll be like, yeah, I love that.
And that's what this movie should have been. And that's what you and I were kind of saying too. Is like, and this is where I was getting to with like just copy the original one if you're gonna copy the original one. Basically, this is where Jeffrey's character could have played more of a role. Have him be the one that gets killed. Or you have him die of a heart attack, and that be the point is that Eddie realizes, oh, this guy's the same age as me, and I'm losing my step, right? Like that's the thing that should have been part of the movie.
You could tell Eddie couldn't physically do this because that opening scene in the hockey arena where he's going down the stairs, he's walking down the stairs like an old man.
He drives a lot. That's what he says even in one of the interviews. I drive a lot in this one. I kill some people, but I do it with cars and shit.
Yeah, I am impressed though that even though this director from outside of Hollywood, he's from Australia, he did a lot of practical effects in this movie, like a lot. Like even the helicopter stuff, that's a helicopter on cables doing.
Except for the guns are all fake. That's the thing.
Well, I mean the muzzle flash and stuff like that. Yeah, they
look fake as fuck.
The squibs are real though. That was interesting. That was cool to find.
But the whole ending just felt like, okay, we got to have this in a mansion just because the first one was in a mansion. You know what I mean? Like that's the problem with the member berries here.
Mm-hmm.
They're not even clever. They're not even in a way that, work with the original film. And I mean, even Eddie in interviews was talking about how they kept trying to get him to do a banana in the tailpipe joke, and he didn't get it. And even the interviewer had to explain to him, like, that's the part that everybody remembers from the first movie. Right. Like,
but
and I can tell
that in the other movies. That's the thing. Yeah.
Eddie he's not as big of a fan of these as we are. This is kind of like one of those situations because I can tell because he even misremembers these movies, even though he claims he just watched them. I don't believe him because he misremembers all three of them. And first of all, he misremembers when he shot the first film. According to him, he shot it 2 years before they did. And then he remembers his boss being shot in part 2. Well, no, it was Bogomil and he didn't die. His boss gets killed in part 3. And then according to him, he remembers the only thing he's like, I don't remember what 3 was about. Something like Uncle Dave. So I go out to California because of Uncle Dave. It's like, no, you don't remember your own fucking movie.
He's also 62 years old. I mean,
yeah, I know. I get it. But it's like, and that's the thing about part 3. People dump on it, but I say it's a little ahead of its time. Sure, it's campy. It's shot like a comedy, unfortunately, because of John Landis trying to make Eddie
like
funny.
TV movie as well.
Unfortunately, yeah, it's got its issues. I'm not going to deny that. But I think it's a little ahead of its time with having Alice DeWalt be like this head of this huge security part, especially with what we've learned about Disney and Reedy Creek over the last few years. It kind of was ahead of its time in that respect, and how much power this guy swung around. And that's what I was saying is they basically gave Kevin Bacon the same power as he had, and they forgot. It's like, okay, so you've already basically done this bad guy. Come up with something else. The Mafia thing would have been, the 12th Street Mafia actually would have been a change of pace.
Yeah, it would have been great.
Actual street thugs, that normally he would deal with. So yeah. Especially if the gang problem was getting even worse.
He finally rounds them all up. He thinks he's got them all. He's like, no, there's a guy that's going to LA to kill your wife and kid.
Yep.
Like we found out where they were.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe Jeffrey gets killed in the process of it. Who knows? I mean, you could have done a lot with that they didn't do. Because, like, he's kind of wasted in what he does here. Yeah, he plays a role in the early part, but then it's like he comes back later. They drag him back in for a really stupid scene.
I mean, Jeffrey and the GPS tracking?
Yeah, it still makes no sense to me why they did that. Like, why would you... almost feels like it was a reshoot of sorts, like that was originally shot in a warehouse, and then they wanted to have it in a mansion, so they changed it. Because like, why would he tell you the wrong place to go when he wants what he wants?
Well, didn't you listen to Kevin Bacon's speech to Jane after that? He's basically like he's setting up the mafia to the drug guys to gun down Foley and them, and then he's going to
missed that
have Jane die in a car accident, speeding to find out what happened to her dad.
Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah.
And he's lying to him to set him up for there, and Foley's like, I don't believe him, so he gets Jeffrey to GPS.
It just feels
phone.
stupid.
And it's a smart thing to do, but the thing is, like, we don't get a shot of the warehouse where the guys are setting up to ambush Foley.
Right.
Like, that's what you need. You need the whole, okay, we kill him, and then what? Like, you kill him, you dump the bodies, you get out of there, and then that's it. And we'll take care of Jane. You just tell us when it's done. And then basically you go back to Bacon, and he's like, they should have called by now. It should have been already done. He calls him. He's like, did they show up? No, there's nothing here. Bam, through the front door. Holy crap, Foley is here instead.
Yeah.
That's how you kind of do and pace those things. You got to set up and pay off. And all he did, they had too much setup done in dialogue. They didn't do enough showing of anything that was important. It was really, I think that back half of this film was heavily redone last minute. And
maybe I'll have to go back for what the guy who saw the screening told me, and then see how different it is and when I watch it again. Taylor Page was the weak link of the film, says Jason Webster. As Axel's daughter, I would have loved more of Billy Rosewood. Yeah, he gets completely sidelined through the whole movie. Yeah. And my bigger problem was that there's like zero sense of urgency for him.
No, there's none. We forget that he's kidnapped until his name's brought up.
I don't forget, but they did. Because I'm screaming through the whole movie. I'm like, but what about Billy? Guys, what about Billy? And I mean, we know he survives because it's in the fucking trailer, which is stupid that they showed the last shot. And I think that's another reason why people are giving this a pass, because they actually got the shot of all the guys together. But it's like, this is different than The Force Awakens in a sense that we knew The Force Awakens was setting up a new generation. So all we were asking for was just one last time to see the old gang back together. There's zero reason why this should go anywhere but Axel and Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Billy Rosewood from here on out. So as far as like seeing them last time together, maybe for Taggart's sake, I guess. But he's even supposed to be coming back, so as long as he's still alive, I mean, like,
yeah, John's was he 90 almost?
He's getting up there. I mean, people forget how young he was in the first movie, how all of them young were in the first movie, because he was only 37. And
Murphy was 22 and Reinhold was like
Murphy was 22 and 27. Yeah. Yep. But Axel was actually playing like 25, 26. But yeah. So that's another thing. They fuck up his age all the time.
They screw up his age. They screwed up his daughter's age. And
unless it's a completely different mother now where we don't.
In which case, it's like, well, what was he doing with Janice?
No. Well, that's what I said to you after the show. I was like, because not only that, it's like it puts you in two weird positions. That means he's just like totally like disregarding the fact that he had because they didn't write it.
At least a baby mama, but at least, yeah, baby
mama, or at least you would think if they were still married, she would have showed up at the funeral for Inspector Todd. If not, if you're out in California, they should did he not visit? Did they already send him out there? Was she that young then? Like that doesn't make any sense. Like, so what's going on here? Yeah. So they don't really even tell you for sure who the mom is either. It's just you're kind of left to allude. And they could have just skipped over and acted like part 3 didn't exist. But oh no, they bring it up enough just to shit on it, and Taggart brings it up.
Abbott brings it up, and then yeah.
And that's what I mean by Abbott brings it up to shit on it, and then Taggart brings it up just because he goes, because Eddie says, I thought you retired, because that's what he did.
Yeah.
He goes, I was, and then me and Maureen got back together, and I got sick of hearing her bitch all day, basically, or however he put it. But which was the only other time I kind of chuckled. But then that made me think about it. And I'm like, how we all reacted to Taggart in this film. I think we all would have reacted the same way to him in part 3, even though everybody bitches that he's not in part 3. Because if you guys remember, he was supposed to be in it, and it was just basically they rewrote his part into the Hector Elizondo role.
Yeah.
So he would have basically been all up Ellis DeWalt's ass not believing everybody. So it would have been the same fucking thing.
Yep.
Because that would have been his retirement plan. That was the whole thing with him. He was all hung up on his retirement plan. Yeah. Because even Ronnie Cox didn't come back, but that was just because he had nothing to do.
Well, I guess there was a reason that we didn't see. Maybe John Ashton knew that it was crappy, the third one, and didn't want to do it.
No,
he was actually, I was going to say, he was actually shooting another film. That's why he didn't do it. But Ronnie Cox turned it down because he read the script and said, I ain't got shit to do. Why am I even here?
This is as bad as Beverly Hills Cop 2, where I'm just in a coma for
Yeah, like he just like if I remember right, like he's literally just there, and then he says hi to Axel, and then that's it. Like he's just barely plays a role in the movie.
He wakes up and then says, "Hey."
No. I mean, in part 3, that's what I was saying. Is like he. That's why he turned it down.
Yeah. Bogomil. Yeah, he turned. Yeah, Ronnie Cox.
He had nothing to do in the movie at all. Yeah. It was all. I mean, that's why I'm saying Taggart's role was still there, but Taggart's role was the Hector Elizondo role, who his whole motivation was he was trying to be buddy with Ellis DeWalt because his retirement plan was to get a job at Wonderworld with Ellis DeWalt.
Yep.
So my point is that that's what Taggart would have been doing. So he wouldn't have been believing everybody either. But at least with Hector Elizondo, I can understand because he has zero. His frame of reference for Axel is all the stories he's heard.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, he doesn't have any skin in that game. So, and Billy fully supports him. So see, that's the thing, right? So, anyway. And that's the other thing too, is you could have had that kind of dynamic with Taggart, but you have to have Billy in the mix going overboard with supporting Axel to where, Taggart's trying to pull back the reins, right? But they don't have that dynamic there. But anyway, we've talked about this long enough. I gotten to the point where we don't even need to have a stream about it now. Jason Webster also sends another Australian 5, says Eddie Murphy 63, Judge Reinhold 67, and John Ashton is 76. Well, that's how math works. And thank you for doing the math. Bryant Barth has been a member for 8 months and says, wonder why they didn't bring back Ronnie Cox. He's old as fuck. Also, is Eddie trying to make a comeback after years of being dormant in acting? Axel F. seems mad. No, he's been acting. This is a strange one, though.
Yeah, like his comeback was technically Dolomite Is My Name.
Yes.
And he's been doing little stuff because he's been doing like music videos and kind of.
He did Coming to America too.
Well, I mean, I'm talking before that. He was doing music videos and stuff up until Dolomite's My Name. It's been recently released that he's been dealing with depression for like 20 years. So that's probably why there's been so little of him outside of like him voicing Donkey in those Shrek films.
Yeah. And he got paid pretty good for those.
So yeah, he's now coming back. I think what he was trying to do, especially with his Coming to America and Axel F, is I think he's trying to get back into the groove that where he was happy in the 80s. And I don't think the way he's doing it is, I don't think he's got the right people around him to get that.
He did the same thing in the 90s. Look back at his career. He did 48 Hours, Trading Places, Beverly Hills Cop. He became basically the highest grossing actor of the 1980s if you don't count Harrison Ford, and I don't do that because
biggest actor out of Saturday Night Live ever. Yeah.
Biggest actor out of Saturday Night Live, arguably the highest grossing black actor of all time, all because of that era. And then he went from those 3 films and he did The Golden Child. Now Golden Child made money, but it was a critical flop.
Yeah.
Like they hated it. It didn't turn out the way he was hoping. It didn't nearly gross as much as his other films. He took a huge hit from that. He did that other movie in between there, but that nobody gave a shit. Best Defense, but that was right.
Yeah,
right before, right after
Gentleman, which also did not perform.
That's a little later. That's a little later.
Yeah,
because we got right after. Because what did he do right after? What did he do right after Golden Child? He did Beverly Hills Cop 2. And that was his first big comeback. And then from there, he's like, okay, so now I'm going to try and recapture that again with another 48 Hours. He did Coming to America in between there, which also helped boost him back up. So then he's like, okay, so now I'm back. I'm going to do another 48 Hours. Another 48 Hours bombed. And then he did, okay, so now I'm going to switch it up. And he tried doing shit like Boomerang. Bombed. Okay, that didn't work. What can I do to get back? Oh, Beverly Hills Cop. 94, he does Beverly Hills Cop 3. Bombs. Then he's like, okay, I got to switch it up some more. Comes in and destroys Vampire in Brooklyn on Wes Craven.
Yeah.
Bomb. And then he does nothing but bombs until basically Nutty Professor.
Yeah, he does.
Then Nutty Professor is his reinvention.
What about Holy Man?
That was after Nutty Professor.
Was that after Nutty Professor? My bad.
Yeah.
He did Night
Distinguished
Professor.
Gentleman was one of the flops I didn't mention because you already did. But yes, that was in between there. Yeah.
So he did the Night Professor, then the Clumps.
And Harlem Nights was the other one I forgot about. Don't forget that one.
After the Clumps did not perform well, he went into Dr. Dolittle.
Yep.
And
those 2 movies did okay.
It did okay and then it was Daddy Daycare.
And
And that
did well, but that kind of cemented him in this oh, he's only going to do family movies now, which worked out for him with getting Shrek. But then, like,
well, he was doing the family films because he just started having kids and he wanted to take his kids to the premieres, and he didn't want to do. I mean, listen,
but he did Norbit, and he did Pluto Nash, and he did what else in there?
Well, yeah, well, Pluto Nash nobody got, and I feel sad for that, because if you actually watch it, it's a noir type mystery set in science fiction, and it's not bad.
It's basically like Valerian.
Yeah. This thing, it just was not right for that time. And also Eddie Murphy and sci-fi doesn't really mix.
Here's the thing with Eddie. He needs to get over the fact that he thinks he can manipulate a story, or he's good at picking stories, because he's not. He is not good at it.
I like the one that he was a monk, a Buddhist. No, what was
that's Holy Man. That's the one that
Holy Man
Scribe was just talking about.
Oh, I like that one. I like that one.
Because he had Holy Man and he had Boomerang in between there, which I both would consider those kind of like Eddie, where Eddie should have went. But those two did not perform the way
Boomerang I have issues with. You know,
Boomerang was his transition.
I didn't like that transition. It's like he wanted people.
He was trying to be the romantic lead,
romantic sensitive man, and not douchey jerk. And I like the douchey jerk better than the romantic sensitive man. I didn't really like, and that women were playing him and all that. That wasn't for me. I mean,
I don't dislike the movie, but it didn't help his career.
He was too sensitive in that one.
And the reason I like that movie is you've got the supporting cast with it. That's what makes that movie so good. Between like Chris Rock and
there's a lot of great, like, even every actor in there there's
Eartha
a lot
Kitt
of great
is
ones.
Fucking hilarious in that movie. There's some great bits in it, but again, it's not one of Eddie's better ones. But then again, you come back around. What did he do? He fell off. He tried doing the Oscar thing. He tried doing the Showgirls movie, or not Showgirls. What was it?
Did Dreamgirls?
Dreamgirls.
He was the only one actually acting in that film.
I thought he was great in Dreamgirls. I mean, that movie.
Well, that was the famous story where he got pissed and walked out of the Oscars because he didn't.
You know
win.
what? He did deserve an Oscar for that movie. I thought he was great in there,
and I understand why he did, because he never wanted to show up. Yeah, because he never wanted to show up to the Oscars. He got invited every year, and the few times that he did show up, he even made a joke about it, but he was being serious with the joke. He's like, I hate these kind of events. He's like, and then they called me up and they're like, we want you to give the prestigious award of Best Picture. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, but you don't have to show up till later because it's the last one of the night. He's like, God damn it, still putting us black people at the end of the bus. Like, and that was one of the only times he showed up to the Oscars. And I think that was the year that Beverly Hills Cop 2 had a song up for, I think Shakedown was up for Best Song. So like, that was like one of the only reasons he did then. And then because I think he felt snubbed over Harlem Nights.
That wasn't a very good movie. Harlem Nights.
No, it wasn't. It was that's what I was saying. He's a horrible story guy. Don't let him pick the fucking story. That's the problem. Because he got more say the later you get into his career. And if you notice, the stories get shittier and shittier and shittier.
That's
the best,
true.
the peak Eddie Murphy is 84 to 87, basically, or 89, where if you want to Coming to America, because that's a lot of John Landis. When you let Eddie, you go, here's the story, go ahead and do your thing. Then you get gold out of Eddie Murphy, as long as he's got somebody else sprinkling him along the way to follow a trail. Because like, as bad as Beverly Hills Cop 3 is, it was a miracle that John Landis got what he got out of that. Got out of Eddie in that movie. Because for those who don't know, and I've said this before, but it's a fucking honest to God truth, because John Landis himself said it. He said, the problem I had was the studio took me aside and said, Eddie wants to make serious movies. He does not want to be known as the comedian guy anymore and just the comedy guy. He wants this to be a more serious action film. Can you find a way to make Eddie funny without him knowing it? So they literally had to bowfinger him in this movie.
Yep.
And that is why I think it's shot the way it is. That's why I think the score's the way it is. That's why I think it's bright and flat instead of like the first two films where it's dirty and grungy, because Landis is looking at this like, how the fuck do I make a guy funny who don't want to be funny? How do I make this movie lighter in tone? Well, the only way he could was by shooting it like a comedy. And that's what it is. By the time you get to the third act, you can feel it, that it's a straight up comedy. He's got more director cameos in this fucking movie than he's ever had before. He's got, the plot is kind of out there, but it's
printing money. That's all it is. It's just printing.
It's literally just printing money. And it's kind of clever. right? And I do actually like how they work Surge back in, even though what use would he have to be there? But they found a way to make him work better than they did in part 4, because they don't even set him up in part 4. Just out of the blue, Eddie's like,
just arrives, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, I know somebody I can call. It's like, in what world you have to set that up? God damn it! You have to have a scene where you run into Surge early on, and he's like, what are you up to now? And he's like, I'm into real estate. That's all you need.
That billboard for syphilis at the above Billy Rose's thing should have been a Surge billboard.
There you go. That's all you needed. Exactly. And him laughing at it, going, of course.
I don't know if somebody mentioned it, but Surge could have brought him the purple suit. Like, he wants to go into his daughter's
Surge would have
thing.
never let him get caught dead in something like that.
You're right. I agree.
No,
Never.
Eddie Murphy in something way more ridiculous.
Wow. Something more flamboyantly gay. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
That's another thing. Where the fuck is Donnie? Because they had Donnie in part 3. He wasn't in this one. Everybody's like, who the fuck is Donnie? Donnie's his boyfriend.
Ah, that's right. Yeah.
The guy he's like, can you button up your shirt? He needs a scrub. That's animal. It's not sexy. That's Donnie. He came back in part 3. It's the same guy in part 3.
Right.
It's like, where is he here? Like, where's Donnie? His quiet boyfriend. Because that was one thing I did love about Bronson Pinchot is he didn't want to do it originally, because he said when he read the role, he's like, this is just your stereotypical gay guy in California, and he's the butt of the joke in the scene. And he goes, but if I can come in and he goes, and this is how he got the job. He goes, if I would do this, they're like, okay. He goes, what I would do is I would do this voice, because you see these guys in these boutiques, you have no fucking clue where they're from. Are they Polish? Are they German? Are they some mix? What the hell are they?
What accent is that?
But on top of it all, they're flamboyantly gay, so that adds to the problem of trying to figure out the accent. And he's also like, the other thing is, I wouldn't have Axel making fun of him. He goes, I think Axel and him would be friends. And so that changed the whole dynamic of that scene. And he goes, but that's what I would do if I would do it. And he left. And of course, they called him back and they offered him more money to do it because he turned it down. So he came in and finally did it. And that's how the original scene came to be. So like, that was one of the reasons why he always held that character in high regard, because that's how it worked out. It's just like, this is how I would do it if I did it, but I wouldn't do it this way that you got it in the script. That's why I don't want to do it. That's the way he presented himself as the job. He's like, I ain't going to do it. I'm turning you down, but this was what I would do. So it's like, and he did the voice for him. And he's like, that was probably what sold him. You know, like,
and then he got his own show. I think Perfect Strangers.
Oh, that is clearly because of that. Clearly.
Yeah. And you know what's really unfortunate is that whole realty scene was really cringe, because it's got this other SNL alum who she's mocking Beverly Hills realtors, but she's
acting all thirsty.
Yeah, that was weird.
Acting very current day SNL character wise. Like, it's all like, this is an SNL sketch of the early 2000s to now. It doesn't have the fun that you would have had with like bringing in another type of Surge character who, instead of it being an art dealer or a weapons dealer, it's a house realtor. What is a Surge version of that? Or why just couldn't it be Surge? It was like, oh yeah, I'm selling this house. And what, neighbors next door, they have throw tons of parties, lots of coke. Yeah, there you go. That's your.
But you didn't hear that from me. That's the problem too with the Surge stuff, is the stuff that he did outside of the movie to sell the movie was funnier than the shit in the movie.
Yeah. The 60 takes was a great joke.
Yeah. Do you want me to say it with that attitude?
Anyway. 60.
This is not, I can't do this. I would not live in this house. Action Cop Sins in 5 says, how about Beverly Hills Cop plot with Jonathan Banks playing Zach's brother coming back for revenge on Foley, his friends and family? That would work too. I mean, that's kind of like a Simon Says Die Hard 3 thing. I'm not always a big fan of a long lost brother coming back for revenge, but sometimes it works if you get the right person in the right plot. Like, that's what I liked about Die Hard 3, is that of course he's just like his brother. It's not about revenge. It's about getting the money. Like, he can give a shit about his brother.
Yeah.
He was an asshole. That's right. And you got his number. I love Die Hard 3. Anyway, now I want to go watch Die Hard 3. Thank you for that, guys. It's been a great show. There is no Toxic Tuesday tonight, but there is other things. Scribe, I think you got something going on, don't you? Because I know you got to run.
Oh, well, no, I got real life stuff going on, but
okay.
Let's see. A couple of things I can plug. First and foremost, Thursday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, I have my weekly show called TED Excellence, where I take a look at off-brand TED Talks with TEDx Bingo, spot all the common patterns and things. And then, scheduled, I haven't posted it yet, but on Friday, July 26th, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, I'm having my next big panel discussion might be underselling it because it's going to be practically a summit on my series called Living on Borrowed Crime, where several true crime content creators are going to come on. We're going to talk about, I guess in the general sense, the ethical challenges or critiques of true crime as a genre. And so far, for those of you true crime fans out there, I have scheduled to appear Misery Machine, Dave's Lemonade, Matt Orchard, True Red Crime, and Mr. Black Pasta. There may be others. It's turning into quite the gaggle. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, keep an eye out on my channel and my Twitter, scribe_light, and I will let you guys know.
I didn't know you could gaggle on YouTube.
That's it for me. Thank you.
Oh, thanks for being here. And then Nick, what do you got going on since there's no
Toxic Tuesday, for those not in the know, we are taking a few weeks off. We'll be back August 6th for the month of the Westerns. That'll be diabolically huge. Until then, I'll be on here Thursday night. And of course, my Friday night show, Clobby's Comic Shop, Friday night as well. And after this stream, I'm going to record 2 videos.
All right.
So thanks for having me, Tom. And I'm really excited that Godzilla -1's getting a U.S. release.
Yeah.
It's about bloody time.
Technically.
Yeah, technically, still. It's a stepping
in
stone,
quotation.
so I'm going to count it.
Script, anything you got going on besides the scripts on Saturdays?
Nope, just that. Got to prep for some interesting meetings I've got coming up this week. So yeah, that's going to be taking most of my time. But yes, scripts on Saturdays is going to have a fun one. We got a nice little action film to review this week.
All right, I got to do one of those with you.
Yeah, I'm trying to arrange some time where I can get you the Beverly Hills Cop script.
Yeah,
and then do that because that'll be fun.
All right, sounds good. Did I miss anybody? I don't think.
Yeah,
I think I got. Did I get you price? No.
Yeah. I have the Night Owl at 11:45 p.m. tonight.
All right, what are you going to be talking about tonight?
Well, just we're going to do the Acolyte review. The second the episode is over, we're going to do a reaction to the episode, which should be amusing. And it should be, Dread Roberts should be there, probably my friend Sean Crummell and Professor R2. So it's going to be a nice panel of people. And we're going to talk about some other stuff, gaming news and maybe other entertainment news. So should be fun for whoever's up at 11:45 p.m. Eastern time.
A power of one.
Oh,
A power of two.
Oh, no.
Power of many.
Ugh.
Scissor me timber, sexy space switch, let's screw. Now you be the dom and I'll be the sub, let's switch. Scissoring all night long. This is the scissoring song. It's so tight being the acolyte. The force is not the force, it's dead. The force is now the thread. Thanks to lesbian space witches. Take that, bitches.
This is so much better than theirs. Pretty popular. It goes on, but
AI music, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I know, right? They like that one.
It actually didn't sound bad considering that it's AI.
I know. I messed with it long enough. I can get it to make some good shit. Scissor me timbers. That's right. Six is even enjoying it, and she hates the AI stuff. No, I know. Everybody's been saying I should do an Agatha Harkness when I should. I've been thinking about it.
Oh, yeah.
Thinking about it.
Do it.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
You have to.
You can dance to
This
that.
opportunity if you don't.
Agatha, all anal.
You know my problem with that is, even though I played that on like several different shows now and everybody loves it. In fact, everybody even sent in a bunch of super chats saying they loved it on VR show the other night. She says, I do hate it, but that's a good one. That makes no, yeah, well, there you go. See, every once in a while you get one right. But yeah, no, like there's just one thing that bothers me about the whole thing. It's like people like it, but I'm like, I'm just sitting here listening to it and I'm like, I missed a perfect opportunity to have, you know, the Force, it's dead. It's now the thread instead. Damn it. I hate that when I do that. It's like, I missed an extra opportunity.
Again. Yeah.
I know.
Director's cut.
I don't know if it'll come out the same the second time, right? Like that's the problem is you take that chance. So yeah, but Suno's gotten better even though they're getting pseudo. I heard about that.
No, I heard about it.
Yeah, them and a bunch of the other ones. So we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, I'll work on an Agatha one. I will. So with that, guys, thank you so much for hanging in. We appreciate it. We'll show it a little bit longer, a lot longer than I planned on it. So thank you guys for hanging in there. I appreciate it. Both you in the chat and on the panel. Thanks to Six and the other mods for all your help tonight, as always. And take care of yourselves and each other. See you.
It's a combination of Dirty Dozen, Seven Samurai, and Star Wars in space.